And we are live, part 3 of 3, episode 50, TSP number 50. We've got the conclusion of the scam investigation here.
Mm-hmm. This has been a wild ride. I'm actually excited to, see the end of this. I've been avoiding some of my favorite YouTubers, so it could be kind of like authentic reaction. So I'm interested to see what was going on here. I'm Captain Paul. That's Dr. Evil. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. We're going to be doing this a lot more frequently. So, yeah, I mean, what have you thought thus far with this investigation there, Evil?
I think the thing uh, that really draws my attention is the fact that the scam artists are being scammed. I think that is the most entertaining portion of all this. Obviously, there are real victims, and I don't want to make light of what they've been through and what they've lost.
Right.
I cannot shake the feeling that a fool and his money is easily parted. That principle shows up here. Every angle that you look at it, some idiot is being scammed by a scammer, and the scammer that they got scammed by is also an idiot who got scammed by a con artist.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a vicious friggin' circle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, I don't, again, the whole thing about victim blaming.
Yeah.
I don't really want to get into that. But man, I cannot stop thinking about everybody's personal responsibility to protect themselves, because there's always going to be bad actors out there, no matter what. There's always going to be people trying to dig in your wallets, dig in your booty, dig in your vajayjay. There always going to be somebody that's going to be looking to take advantage of you. It is your job to protect yourself from being taken advantage of. But do not protect yourself so much that you don't support the Talking Shit podcast. We really do want to continue to grow this platform. As Cap stated, we are committing to bringing a lot more live content to you motherfuckers. So we'd like you to be here. We'd like your friends to be here, even your enemies, so you guys can argue in the comment section. So let's get it.
For the last 6 months, I've been working on my own NFT project.
We've put hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. Personally, the whole team, $1 million plus.
We had an issue with CryptoZoo, where our lead developer took the code that he made, fled to Switzerland, and held it hostage for $1 million.
He literally never paid me anything at all, ever. Eddie promised me, 5% tokens and $1 million. He never paid me.
This reporter says Eddie's entire story is fake.
The biggest reason it failed, in my opinion.
Doug, I'm not the bad guy here.
Yeah.
There's some actual out there.
Yeah.
And it's not me. I'm here to build.
Yeah.
Welcome to part 3. So far, we've discovered fake orphans, millions of dollars stolen, and a cast of sleazy characters. But now, it's time to put it all together. What is the truth? And who's to blame? We're going to start by going through leaked text messages of the CryptoZoo team to understand all of their motivation. Then we'll go to blockchain evidence and show who sold what. And finally, we'll confront some of the people responsible. But before we can do any of that, we have to start in March of 2021, 6 months before the token even launched. Our 4 suspects, Logan, Crypto King, Eddie, and Jeff, are in a group chat discussing CryptoZoo, which starts as a copy of something else. Quote, "I like imitating crypto kitties," Jake the Crypto King says. Logan replies, "I agree." And initially, it wasn't called CryptoZoo at all. It was called Crypto Pets, and they were going to sell a pets token. And pretty early on, it became clear this was all about money, how they were going to sell this thing to investors. In fact, Crypto King said he thought it was worth at least $20 million in only 6 months, saying the range is insane. $20 to $210 million. It's beautiful wherever we land. Eddie jumped in at this point and talked about how he could sell the project as an investment to a friend, Matt Higgins, saying, quote, he has to spend that $350 million somewhere. Why not us? And Logan says, I love that idea.
Now, here's the problem that I have with that. If you're talking about investing, you're not looking to spend money. You're looking to invest money because you're looking to do what?
Money. To make
right.
money.
You're looking for a return on the investment, right? So they're actually, without making it clear, they are making it clear that they intend to scam people. They intend to come up with a bogus project that has no utility whatsoever.
Correct.
They never say, hey, there is a hole in the market that needs to be filled. There is a need. So I'm going to come and invent. He says that he's not the bad guy. He's here to build. Build what? What are you here to build? I mean, and the only thing that I'm seeing here is, we can pump this up. We can get a valuation. And whether it's 20 million or 120 million, wherever we land. So basically you're here to pump and dump, and you're saying it in the conversation. You're not even trying to mask it by saying, hey, we've got this great product. Let's monetize it. You're saying we got this hunger for money. Let's get it by any means.
Well, my thing is like when someone says he has to spend that 350 million somewhere, like why would it be with you? Like if you have any viable fucking project, do you have anything done, any legwork done? This is just definitely comes off as people trying to use a situation and a popular trend to make a quick buck. There is no originality within this project whatsoever.
There's no functionality.
And that as well. And I think that honestly, just the origin conversation, it was kind of doomed to fail. Sorry, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Crypto King, I'm in. And of course, you have Jeff saying, let's go. So you can see right there, they wanted to sell this game before it had even launched. Now later, Eddie amends the list of investors and says, quote, investors will be Gary Vee, Todd Morley, James Altucher, Ryan Kavanaugh, and others confirmed on my end. Supposedly, they had $100 million of investment interest. Now, I actually went to some of these investors and asked if this was true, and the one person who responded denied it, Ryan Kavanaugh. Quote, nope, not even a little bit. So this looks like it could be yet another lie from Eddie Ibanez, but either way, it looks like there was more issues than just finding investors.
Or he was interested, saw the fallout and say, yo, I had nothing to do. I had no involvement in that. I'm not stupid enough to put my money in there. Nobody think that I'm a fucking idiot and then come to me with your fucking hands out.
Yeah.
Investors, because the team wanted to pre-sell tokens, and not everyone was sure it would be legal. Jake the Crypto King mentions that, quote, if we have a pre-sell, it opens us up to SEC issues. And Jeff agrees and says, don't want to do anything that brings the SEC eyeballs. Now, not everyone wanted to be so cautious, though. Logan argues everyone does pre-sale with coins. Eddie agrees. He says, you absolutely can do it. I have the SEC down, private and pre-sale. And honestly, it was quite the dilemma for this team who wanted money. Do a pre-sale, make millions, but, you have these potential legal issues. Don't do it, you make less money. So Crypto King comes up with a middle solution. He says, if we can't sell, no pre-sale. We can still trade them in the liquidity pool. And this is the start of a new disaster, which takes a bit of explaining. Now, just so we're clear, a pre-sale is where you sell investors coins, usually at a discount, before you've launched. And then when you launch, you give them those coins. Now, like I said, the team didn't want to do that. So what they did instead was they bought the tokens on the open market right after launch. But they tried to get clever with it because they didn't actually announce that they were launching this coin at all. They stealth launched it on June 11th and didn't announce this token through Logan until August 18th, meaning they had all that time to silently buy up as much of the supply at a steep discount as they wanted. And the idea here was that doing this, the team could get these tokens extremely cheaply, which is kind of like a pre-sale, but without all the SEC troubles. And Crypto King makes this clear on June 7th when he says, quote, launch of the liquidity pool is where huge money will be made because you get in cheaper. And then says, we, the team, begin buying out the liquidity pool. Once the team has exhausted funds for the liquidity pool buying, we send the contract address to friends, family, investors who want to be able to get in. So obviously the plan is we buy first, then we give it to our close friends and family, and then maybe the public eventually, right? And even the day before, Crypto King reminds everyone, quote, Zoo Day is tomorrow. I highly recommend everyone get a few $100 to a few $1,000s in Zoo when it goes live. It will likely 10 to 1,000x. So that was their plan. Rather than doing a pre-sale, they were going to do this stealth launch and hopefully get tokens cheaply the same way, but without all the legal troubles. Or at least that was the plan. Because on stealth launch day, this is where things first started to go wrong for the team. At first, everything seemed to go normal. The team sat in a circle and literally bought it out as planned. But the next day, Crypto King says something odd. Quote, a bot is playing with our token. Kind
You good? You good? Yeah. That sent you.
The jokes write themselves, man. Oh my god. So, oh my god, this is hilarious, man. So they're like, listen, we're gonna try to be that. We're gonna launch a scam.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get in on the ground floor of our own scam, so that when we sell it to people using our star power and the value of these tokens go up, we're the holders of the token, and then we can sell this bullshit token to people that are like, oh my god, I bought this token from Logan Paul, and I'm gonna buy it for this amount. And then you already make the profits as the market is opening. Classic pump and dump. But hey, there's an algorithm out there saying, yeah, we're just going to fuck around with your token.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's some funny ass shit.
That is pretty fucking funny because they felt like they were the smartest ones in the room.
Yeah, it's a stealth launch. Nobody knows. But there's some fucking algorithm out there. We don't even know, a fucking botnet. And they're like, yeah, we see that there's something out there in the market, and we're just going to fuck with it.
Just essentially said, go fuck your dreams. That's like, yeah.
I'm sorry. That's really fucking funny. I'm sorry.
of cool to watch them work. But he doesn't mention who this bot is. And he also says the asshole finished selling, but doesn't mention who that is. Now, Jeff, Logan's manager, replies upset. He says, how do we prevent someone doing what they just did again? We went from a $130 million to $26 million market cap.
Right as they were about to stick it into somebody else's ass dry, they felt the lube on their booty like, hey, wait, there's nobody's supposed to be behind us. What the fuck?
In 2 hours. It's not cool to watch. Logan jumps in. Yeah, wait, how did that happen? And he also says, what asshole? How did anyone get this token except for us and none of us sold? And I think actually this is incredibly suspicious because the implication of what Logan's saying is, hey, we tried to scheme this really well. We tried to all buy this without letting anyone know. How did anyone else figure out we were buying it, right? And this is where a fight ensues that's going to become really interesting. Crypto King deflects the question by saying, my buyer pushed it back up to $40 million. And Logan says, no, bro, F your buyer. Explain to me what just happened and how there were 30 token holders. And Jake tries to explain that this was just traders and bots happening to find the token. But Logan says only 5 of us knew about it.
That means somebody in the pool leaked it or gave it to some fucking hacker guy and then said, yo, I know we were all supposed to get in on this, but there is no honor among thieves. Nope.
Jake says, well, many people chase volume and new tokens. And to some extent, he's kind of right. But Logan replies, cap, He doesn't believe it. Quote, I can't be the only one who thinks that's too incredibly convenient. Like someone was tipped off.
Exactly.
And look, no one's more critical of Logan than me. But as I'm reading these texts, I was kind of like agreeing. Like, yeah, it does seem too nonchalant when somebody's ruining your secret plot. You know what I mean? Because Crypto King was acting very strange. He says, we created $40 million out of thin air. This is a success. Logan replies, this nonchalance worries me. F 40 million. It was at 120 million, which again, it's all about the money with these guys. But truth be told, I did agree that Crypto King's attitude seemed strange in these texts. I mean, he's not wrong that bots are a thing. Traders are a thing.
About it.
But it sounded like he didn't want anyone to look into it. So naturally, I looked into it. And what I found surprised me because there were bots, but there's also unusual human activity during this time. So I tracked the 5 biggest buyers.
Any human activity because nobody else is supposed to know about it.
No. This is what I found. Logan was one of the biggest buyers, which is what you'd expect. But he wasn't the biggest. In fact, 2 of the biggest wallets seem to be associated with Crypto King himself.
Oh, shit.
And here's where I pause. I said, wait a second. Why did this guy buy more Zoo tokens than Logan when this is mostly Logan's project? I thought Crypto King was a small part of this team. And so to get more info on this, I actually got access to an internal meeting note from the day of June 11th, which they called Zoo Day. And in it, we find actually some interesting information. We see that 5 founders bought in. They apparently were, quote, trading in circles until each person maxed out. But on the list of buyers, how much they spent, are only 4 people, when we know 5 people bought. We have Danny, Logan's assistant, for 20K, Logan Paul for 100K, Jeff at 100K, and Eddie at 100K, but Crypto King is nowhere to be found. And yet, on the blockchain, I have him putting in $200,000 worth. And this number, by the way, seemingly is confirmed in a conversation I had with Crypto King, where he said, my 200K investment. And the reason this is important
I want you to see my
it does
truth.
imply
Anybody
that something
else?
shady was.
Anybody else catch that?
Yeah, my truth shit. Oh my god.
And you already know that when you see
Crypto King
that somebody is using this right here, my truth. Anytime you see anybody, and you're going to see this a lot with modern women, where you tell them something that's verifiable, it's either in biology, it's been tested, or it's an issue that has already had studies done on it. There's plenty of statistics out there on certain things, and then you show them actually this is what's more likely to happen overwhelmingly. They'll fall back on, well, this is my truth.
I hate that fucking phrase.
Right?
It's so fucking stupid. There's no my truth. It's just the truth. That's
right. There's only one. There's no alternate facts. There are no my truth as opposed to somebody else's truth. Right?
Yeah, it's such a fucking it's such a stupid statement. You don't understand how much I fucking hate when someone says that. It's like there's only one thing, and it's called the truth. Fuck off with your my truth bullshit. Let's get
I got here's a funny story. I got into a row with a friend of mine who's a Yankees fan, right? And we were talking about the possible Correa signing. You know, he went from the Giants and then went right to the Mets and all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's a lowlife. Well, why is he a lowlife? Well, he was on that cheating team in 2017 with the Astros, where they did the whole sign stealing, the garbage cans in the tunnel, right, and all that, right? So I went and I said, wait a minute, didn't the Yankees also do a similar scam?
Yeah.
So, well, if they did the same scam, how were the Astro players low lives, but the Yankee players aren't? Oh, well, I'm just going to say what I want to say. You know, it's my truth. I was like, oh my God, this nigga, yo. And then come to find out that the scam, the whole using electronic means to steal signs, the Astros didn't create that. The Yankees did in 2015.
Makes sense.
And then it went from the Yankees to the Astros, and then the Red Sox got caught in the scandal in 2018. But the Yankees were the first team to create that scam.
Let's go.
But hey, it's my truth. Actually, the evidence shows.
Yeah.
So guys, anytime you see anybody use the phrase "my truth," automatically invalidate any words that immediately preceded it and immediately follow it.
Yep.
Said my $200K investment. And the reason this is important is because it does imply that something shady was going on the day of the stealth launch. Because Crypto King had a relatively small role in this whole project. He was the advisor, but it wasn't that big of a deal.
What
like you
was
can
he
see from the
advising
internal
them on?
meeting notes, they have a breakdown of who's getting what in terms of founder tokens. And like Logan Paul's getting 51%, Eddie's getting 30%, Jeff's getting 10%. Jake's only getting 5% of tokens, but he has the most of these like stealth launch tokens, which makes no sense. And it got me thinking that maybe what explains this suspicious behavior around like, oh, don't worry about who was buying at the time of the launch. Maybe that's explained because perhaps no one knew that he was buying up large parts of the token supply. Maybe he was buying it to sell later. Now, of course, that's speculation. So that's why I confronted Crypto King on all of this. But before we get to that call, let's address the elephant in the room. Logan didn't accuse Crypto King of being a scam. It was the other way around. Crypto King told Logan Paul he was a scammer. And the question is, why? Well, to answer that, we have to go from June, the stealth launch date, to September 1st, the official launch date of CryptoZoo.
September 1st, cryptozoo.co.
Now, the day of the launch was a bit strange because you might think, well, they already have a token, right? But the first thing they did was actually create a new Zoo token with a different code, but the same name. And they actually airdropped all the holders of the first Zoo token with an identical amount of those coins on the second Zoo token. So you might be wondering, why did they do that? Well, maybe it's to change the smart contract, but maybe it's because of what they did do. They blacklisted some of the holders. In other words, they didn't airdrop to everyone, including Jake, the Crypto King. They excluded his wallets so it couldn't get these Zoo coins. Jake texts the group about this the next day, saying, quote, "The Zoo team made a major error this weekend. They chose not to communicate, mint a new token, and airdrop it to whatever wallets they determined fit. This decision came from Eddie and Logan, and I had no part in it. 11,250 wallets before the airdrop, under 11,000 after. They chose to blacklist and ban over 200 wallets." Now, who those wallets are, I have no idea. But he continues, quote, "As a founder like Logan, Jeff, Eddie, and Danny, I had purchased a large quantity of tokens. 5+ of my wallets had been blacklisted from the original team's buys." Now, I don't know why he had 5+ wallets there, but okay. He says 80+ billion Zoo tokens were confiscated from me today without any communication. So, wow. That's why Crypto King accused Logan of stealing from him or scamming. It's because he was frozen out of a lot of his wallets. Then we get to the text you guys all know. He says, "Logan, you stole $40 million. You're a scammer. You're a con artist, all that stuff. You betrayed your community. The reality is you aren't that guy." And Logan responds, "Oh, Jake, trust me, bro. I am that guy." Q, in the arms of an angel.
Wait, so it looks like Logan figured out the guy that fucked this all up during the V1 launch was Crypto King. So this guy thought he was the smartest guy in the room, and he thought that he was going to get one over on the dumbest guy in the project, and it got switched on him.
Yeah, dude, he switched him at bait, man. That's crazy. I think it's just absolutely fucking ridiculous though, like how they're all just stabbing each other in the back, doing shit. Like it's just no honor amongst thieves for sure. It's just crazy.
You got double and triple and quadruple crossings.
And look, I mean, what do we make of this? Well, I don't know. I can't root for either of these guys because it sounds like Logan stabbed him in the back, but it sounds like Crypto King may have stabbed him in the back in the first place, right? Because it does appear like he bought tokens that maybe everyone didn't know about. So I'm really not a fan of anyone in this situation. And by the way, this whole thing was structured so misleadingly from the beginning. I have to talk to you a bit about it because you might think that these tokens were the only tokens they had, but it's not even true. In the distribution section of Zoo's white paper, they say there's 2 trillion tokens, and a quarter of that are allocated to development, marketing, and founders. Those aren't even the tokens we're talking about right now, because they claim that those tokens were locked up for 6 months, and then afterwards 10% was unlocked every month. And if that's true, there would be no reason for these funds to be blacklisted, right? Why would you blacklist?
Question that I have, and anybody that knows crypto,
feel free to talk.
Can please answer this question for me. Where the fuck did they get the number 2 trillion from? Because when you look at Bitcoin, there were these fucking crazy math problems that needed to be solved in the scientific community. And every time every single time one of these math problems was solved, it would generate a Bitcoin. So I understand the utility of Bitcoin. But you just came up with CryptoZoo. Where the fuck did you come up with 2 trillion tokens? Where did they come from? And what the fuck are they supposed to do?
I mean, I think that's a valid question. I see, like, this is like with crypto, I'm assuming they just pulled that number out their ass, right? Like they have a certain set amount of Bitcoin, or sorry, crypto zoo coins, whatever the fuck they want to call it. It's not even real. It doesn't exist. They have like a set limit of 2 trillion, thus making like an artificial market.
Yes.
And
that's what it sounds like.
So like you just print them and it's whatever. I mean, I think if you
is
know,
it an arbitrary number?
Yeah,
hey,
I mean,
just 2 trillion.
Like, could we make TSP coins, make our own crypto thing, say there's 5 trillion billion of them, and just like fucking sell them? And like, yo, here's our pre-sale, buy them for a nickel a fucking coin. Like, you know what I mean?
And then figure out which people are buying the most, and then create a version 2, and just
fuck
no, not you,
not you, no, not you,
not you. You believe too much.
Yeah.
List something that would be locked up, and the answer is because, well, the founders had more than one set of tokens. Not only did they supposedly have these founder tokens that were locked up and couldn't be sold, these stealth launch tokens were different from that. It's like a whole different thing. And the tokens that they bought, that all of these guys bought, they could sell at basically any time because they weren't locked up, which is a massive problem. And this fact was explicitly laid out in their meeting notes with only one rule. They say, quote, no selling until $200 million market cap, and don't impact the market more than 3%.
Wait a minute, isn't that illegal?
And not impact the market more than 10%.
That's insider trading, right?
And by the way, this is basically conspiracy.
I don't know if crypto
you know, they're literally
beholden to the same rules, but it definitely sounds scamish to me.
That sounds.
You're manipulating the market.
Yeah, that's super illegal, I thought.
But at the same time, let's say you're Elon Musk and you own Tesla shares, right? You know that if you sell too many of them at once, it's going to pull the price of the stock down too much. And then the value of the stock goes down. So it's important to make sure that, at least within yourself, you avoid making too many moves with your stock.
Yeah, but that's
affect the market too much.
But
these are instructions that are given to the team.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm saying that's interesting.
Have an insider rules for how to sell, but we're going to look past that, right? Because these rules eventually kind of changed. A text from Logan's manager, Jeff Levin, came to the group chat, Zoo Founders, saying, guys, new and absolute rule.
Now, here's what fucks me up. You're writing up, you're talking about something that's supposed to be a serious financial tool, investing, real money, tens, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars on the line, down the line. And you're writing your bylines in a group chat on a fucking iMessage.
Yep.
What the fuck is this?
That's the amount of professionalism they have. It's a joke.
No one is to sell or transfer any zoo. Logan's going to make the call when we can make moves. And Logan replies, your tokens do not leave your wallet. This is a game. Now, that all sounds well and good. Don't sell your tokens. But the reality was, I mean, they're just kind of trusting each other because these tokens that they're talking about, they're unlocked. They're not locked up. And they could sell it at any time. And I guess the question on my mind is that why Crypto King's tokens were blacklisted? Because they thought he would sell? Or Maybe it's just the fact they found out he bought and they didn't know about all those tokens. It's honestly hard to say without knowing more evidence. And this is where we're going to jump into the blockchain. Now, I've tracked the wallets of the entire team and identified the largest seller of Zoo in the team. And it wasn't Jeff. It wasn't Danny. It wasn't even Logan. It was Crypto King. Yeah. Crypto King sold, by my calculations, millions of dollars. And I know what you're thinking. How's that possible, right? I thought his tokens were blacklisted the day of the official launch. How could he sell that much? Well, the answer is that not all of his tokens were blacklisted. He had even more tokens behind the scenes.
He had more wallets.
And what's worse, the CryptoZoo team actually gave him back a lot of his blacklisted tokens, which I guess you can see as a good thing or a bad thing, because he then turned around and sold those tokens, right? And from my blockchain analysis across his blacklisted tokens he got back and the tokens that he had squirreled away the whole time, he ended up making $6 million.
Wow.
He did this by sending out tokens from these larger wallets to dozens of smaller wallets, selling it, and then sending the money to final cash out wallets. So I used those final wallets to calculate the amount he made. Now, I know, look, it's a lot to accuse someone of selling $6 million in a project that doesn't even work. It's a giant scam. So I wanted to give him a chance to defend himself.
I could do $6 million.
So I got him a call
right now
with Crypto King. And here's what he said when I finally revealed that I knew.
I'm going to change the whole story. Yeah, I'll go on the record for you. And yes, I'm going to show you the text message that say we can sell at these ascending market caps. And literally, I was 100%. It sounds like your biggest issue with me is that I sold.
Here's one of the things that really get my scam artists senses are tingling, right? If you're saying that CryptoZoo is going to be the next big thing, and it's supposed to be so great, why is it that you're trying to sell as soon as it goes to market?
Because you have no faith in the market.
I'm thinking about buying into CryptoZoo and people are selling as soon as it goes to market, that would be like if a company's going to IPO and they're everybody starts buying the stock on day one and it zooms up super high, and then the founders sell all of their shares. And this is the person that's supposed to come up with the idea, came up with the company, and they immediately cash out. What does that tell me about the viability of their business model or their product?
There is no viability, and there's no long-term plan. They're just looking to quick flip, sell. There's no long-term goals, in my opinion. If your founders are immediately selling because they realize this is going to quickly lose value, that is not a good sign. And I would not invest into that project.
And if that's your biggest issue with me, that's the truth.
Wow. That is a big admission. Selling tokens for a project that you're an advisor on when the project has never been delivered. Although Crypto King insists that it wasn't $6 million and he wasn't trying to rug a project. In fact, really, he might be the one who got screwed over in all of this.
Like, I did sell $6 million worth. That's going to be other wallets, but that's probably not going to be able to being able to be proven, except for them saying, can you send BNB to all these different wallets for me? Which that I'll be able to show you that I was giving BNB to the whole team. I will also be able to show you that I was a 5% holder of the Zoo tokens that I was promised to be given over the 3-month period, was never given. I can also show you that I was frozen out and was never given the 15 billion tokens back that I paid for in cash.
Okay.
So I'll show you all of those things on the record, and then you can also say that I did sell, which is also true.
Yep.
But as long as it's accompanied with he was a founder that was supposed to be even 5% of the project and was never given the token or paid, worked for almost a year on the project. As long as that goes in with it, then at least that tells my side of the story, so people understand that it's not like I was trying to run a project. It's like I put $250,000 into a project plus 6 months of time, and the founder never did anything he said he was going to do, and then hired a bunch of devs that didn't do what they were going to do. And every time I gave advice, the advice was I was told to fuck off. So it can be that story, or it can be he sold all this amount and he got in early. Well, yeah, that's like 1% of it, though.
Incredible. He sounds like he views himself as the victim, or at least like he got screwed too, which just has to win the gold medal for me for mental gymnastics. Because, I mean, he literally had put $200,000 into this and he says he made millions of dollars. Even if you take him at his word that he didn't make the full $6 million, he admits to me later that it might be a pretty close guess. He tells me via text, quote, "I don't care if you tell people I sold a few million and leave it at that." Well, okay, $6 million, a few $1 million, it's millions of dollars, right? Millions of dollars when you only put in $200,000 into a project that's never been delivered, doesn't work, scammed people out of their money. How is he saying he's the one who's in the wrong? Well, in his view, what he did was not wrong. It might have been arguably unethical, but it wasn't illegal. And what Logan did, well, that was illegal.
You can say the timing was bad and it was inappropriate to sell, but the reality is I bought tokens open market and sold them open market. So there was nothing illegal about that. Ethically, arguable. The rest that Logan did to me was ethically wrong and illegal.
Now, what do I think of all this finger pointing? Well, I think it's pretty wild to try to make yourself look like the lesser of two evils when you made millions of dollars and investors lost millions. I just do. Now, at the same time, I want to be fair to Crypto King. He's not the only one who sold here. But I also have to say, not everyone from the founders did sell. For example, Jeff, Logan's manager, to my knowledge, never sold. Neither did Logan Paul, which was a huge surprise. All their wallets that I tracked, held on to their tokens, which is good. And to their credit for a game that doesn't work. But you know who did sell? Eddie Ibanez. The guy who didn't pay the initial devs, the supposed MIT orphan. Yeah, from what I could see, his initial wallet got a ton of Zoo, sent it to a bunch of smaller wallets, and then sold off, kind of like Crypto King. And for my calculations, he made about $1.7 million. Now, I have to tell you,
at least he could
that,
claim
like
to be a real
Jake,
millionaire.
I
now.
tried to confront him and give him the opportunity to defend himself, but he never replied to my emails or my phone calls, and we're just going to have to leave it there. But we're not done with the money just yet, because we still need to talk about the eggs. Remember, we talked about how they profited from Zoocoin, but they also made millions from eggs. According to their own internal meeting notes, they plan to make about $3 million selling these eggs for 0.1 ETH a piece. And that's not far from what I calculated they actually did make, which is about $2.5 million. In the meeting notes, they say they're going to clear expenses and then do payouts. But payout who? They don't say. And these expenses are referencing an earlier note suggesting Eddie and Logan had both spent $300,000 each, which I'll say is not $1 million. But okay, we'll give it to them, right? So they got paid back their $600,000, but where does the rest of the money go? Well, on the Ethereum side, there's one payout for $364,000 to one wallet and another $1 million to another. Both are Coinbase addresses, so we don't know who exactly that is, but clearly someone on the team made a lot of money from these NFT egg sales that do not work. And on the Binance Smart Chain side, where they also made money selling eggs, the zoo that was spent was supposed to be set aside for 50% to be burned, which they did, but the other 50% was supposed to be allocated for wildlife charities and crypto zoo development. Now, neither seems to have happened because all the money is in a wallet that the team still controls. So there are open questions about, where that money is going to go and where the Ethereum money went. Did it go to Jake? Did it go to Logan? Did it go to Jeff? Did it go to Eddie? We don't know. But what I know for sure is that no one was innocent, although there are certainly shades of guilt you can argue about because, of course, not everyone did sell. You could look at that as the most important thing. Logan Paul didn't sell. Jeff, Logan's manager, didn't sell. But does that make them innocent? Well, I don't think so because they never built the game they promised people. Logan Paul specifically got millions of dollars spent on this game on the promise of the technology that he never built, that his team never built. And he never addressed the failure except to blame his developers who weren't paid. And you could say he promised to work backwards to fix it, but then never did. But at the same time, it's clearly not just Logan's fault either because there are major team issues, right? You've got Eddie selling millions of dollars of Zoo and then allegedly not paying developers. You've got Jeff, who was warned about Eddie, who kept him on the team anyways. And then after they fired Eddie, seems to also have failed to pay developers on time. And then you've got Crypto King himself, who sold the most, but claims he was the guy who was scammed, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's just like Avengers Assemble for the worst possible team you can imagine to build a crypto game. And so, unsurprisingly, it turns out a lot of these guys backstabbed each other. And so finding a way to wrap this up was difficult because it's hard to assign exact proportions of blame. Because if you focus on any one person, you kind of miss why this project failed. CryptoZoo at the end of the day did not fail because the price went too low. CryptoZoo failed because they never built a functioning game that they promised. Really, the number one problem, even bigger than people selling millions of dollars of tokens, was that they never paid the developers on time, as boring as that is. And as a result, the investors not only got rugged for millions of dollars, which is a problem, but they just didn't get the core thing they had bought from the beginning, which was not a crypto project, but something different.
I'm excited to launch my game.
You keep using and you just did it again. You keep using a word there, game. You're not using like a project. It's a game.
It's a game. It's a really fun game that makes you money.
That's it. That to me is the biggest scam in all of this. Yes, it's a huge problem. People stole millions of dollars, but it's a symptom of the larger issue, which is people didn't actually care about the game or this, whatever you want to call it. They just cared about the money.
Here's the thing. It's a really fun game. Nigga, did you play the game?
No, the game doesn't exist. It's not there.
How do you know it's really fun if you've never played the game?
My man didn't even get the shit developed, and he's trying to sit here like, oh yeah, well, dude, it's such a fun game, bro. Like when you change these cards, and like a pterodactyl turns into a fucking goose, or some stupid shit like that. Like it's just like legitimately the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like if you want animals evolving, like Mrs. Evil just said, stick to Pokemon Go. Go like buy a Pokemon game. Like, this is such a dumb idea in the first place, and then he's trying to, like, sell this product that he's never even used. Like, what a scumbag. Like, honestly, I mean this. What a piece of shit. Like, Logan Paul is the biggest piece of shit. I'm sorry. That's a joke.
Well, this was actually the thought that I had. I don't think that the so-called CryptoZoo egg hatching... breeding,
like inbred bullshit.
I don't think that was the game. The game was, how can I get that guy's money into my account? That was the real game.
That's true.
And for him, that's really fun. For the guy who has a thin wallet or a thin checking account and nothing to show for it, the game is not so fun. Mm-hmm. So really, you're really... The investors were the game.
And this is ultimately what happens when you have an influencer LARPing as a businessman. It's what happens when you have a liar LARPing as a developer. And it's what happens when you have a shady crypto guru LARPing as a crypto king. You end up with a mess. And in my personal opinion, a fraud as well. And now that this thing blew up in their faces, these four seem to be dodging accountability faster than SBF dodges calls. Because I have reached out to everyone involved. Tried to get all of their statements on things. So far, no one has taken accountability or offered to refund the victims at all. They're all hiding, pretending these victims don't even exist. But they do exist. And throughout my investigations, they've been the heartbeat of this whole thing. So I decided to close this investigations in a bit of a unique way. Rather than me deciding who's to blame or me deciding what you should think,
you know what else is a scam?
I want to give them the last word.
Everyone
coffee never gets
Logan, in the sense of his poor management,
$10 million studio.
He still made these promises to people.
I think everyone it is to blame, including Logan Paul, of course, because he was the one in charge of this, and he was responsible for all of this
and
mess.
Only penalty he's going to pay is lose a few subscribers.
Big part and a massive cross to bear.
Each one of them scammed the project in their own way. And then off the sunset they went.
Yep.
It was his job to check the team to make sure that everyone is working together, to make sure that he is giving the funds of the people that put it into his project under his name to people that he actually trusts. So in my opinion, if the team failed to perform, that's Logan Paul to blame.
The community is destroyed. People is angry. They just want their money back. They just want their normal lives back.
Reimburse those loyal fans that they have.
That just
or
sent me.
How to rebuild the project, actually deliver on the project. For those who are still holding their eggs, like I am. For those holding the zoo coins. So maybe they could just deliver what they promised, and that would give some redemption.
Yo,
this
can
gas
you,
company.
can you
Not said a
imagine?
word.
Wait, hold on, I gotta go back to this guy.
That's
I gotta go back to this
Reimburse
guy.
those loyal.
Let's look at this guy's face. Let's just look at him for a minute, okay? Because he does make a good point, right? They still do have the skeleton for this project that could still be viable, at least the game part of it, right? Even if it's worth nothing and it's worthless and all the money was pumped and dumped and all that stuff, right? Look at this guy. This guy looks like he's in his late 40s, right? He uses Just for Men. He's lying to the ladies. You know, hey, my hair's not gray. You know, like you look behind him, everything looks clean, but I don't know, man. You look at him and it's just like, what kind of a sad sack? What kind of a sad sack of guy? You know, this you know, like I just
listen. I'm gonna say this. I think these people that invested in anything run by Logan Paul borderline have deficiencies that should have been ironed out in the education.
Borderline?
Yeah.
Borderline.
No, definitely have deficiencies that should have been ironed out in their education systems. The problem here is that I don't think anyone's going to negate here that these investors are stupid for putting any money into a project that has not seen like any type of proof of product, like at all, right? But these guys are manipulative scumbags that use their fans as a way to get rich. Now, this one guy here who wants to see the actual game, I want to know who hurt you. Because, like, personally, and this is all comedy. I don't want no, like, FBI shit. Personally, me, I would, like, theoretically, you know, Pat Tillman that Logan Paul. Like, legitimately, I would get violent. If I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm not looking for a game. I'm looking for where you live and how far this 5.56 round can go over 500 yards. Like, legitimately. Like, I am surprised they don't have people after them, like, after their lives. Because, like, we both have known people that, like, go
they're creating a lot of enemies, man.
Like, and that's the thing. Like, you think fucking with people, like, they might be stupid, doesn't mean they can't get violent. If anything, when someone loses everything to their name
and loses to people that they trusted or valued, the emotional response is elevated.
And when you have nothing to lose, when you're backed in a corner, like, this is why people get shot. And I'm not saying that, like, I'm being blunt. I hope that doesn't happen. I hate putting that out into the air, but I'll be very blunt with you.
But that's how niggas get killed.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Logan can think he's untouchable, but, like, this 9mm still goes through your brain the same as me. Like, that's how legitimately it is. Like, you can have body.
People get killed for much less.
Yeah. I mean, bro, this dude stole millions of his fans. Like, legitimately. I don't get how people. I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps doing this shit, because this is not his first scam, by the way. If he keeps doing this, like, he's gonna do it to the wrong motherfucker that invests even like a few $100s in, and that dude's gonna go off the fucking bath salts and just like rip his dick out.
He said off the bath salts.
I'm just sorry, bro. Like, oh shit. Let's keep playing this.
They have, or how to rebuild the project, actually deliver on the project for those who are still holding their eggs, like I am.
He put all of his eggs in one basket.
Maybe they could just deliver what they promised.
I hate you. That's a good one. Cheers.
Stupid. He's not said a word. That's as bad, or almost as bad, as taking the money. It's the not coming out and just being a man about it.
At least we deserve to know what was happening behind the scenes while we were waiting for almost a year and a half. The fact that we're hearing this information not from a football, but from pretty much an investigator, it really says a lot.
What did this loss mean to me? It meant a lot.
Stupid.
Not just personally, because I lost quite a lot of money. My kid
and
also my wife
stupid.
were invested. It was like telling a kid that Santa doesn't exist or something like that, because she really believed in all that game. She really believed in Logan Paul. Kids look up to that kind of people. So it was some kind of broken dream.
My mum was invested. My sister was also invested. So
wait a minute.
I mean, my daughter even had a couple of the eggs.
Wait a minute. Who the fuck? Okay, wait a minute. How old does he look? Like, he looks around like 30, 40, right?
These nuts. Got him.
Yo, he looks around 30, 40, bro. His mom watches Logan Paul, bro. Like, what in the fucking Alabama cousin fucking is this shit? Like, I don't understand. Your whole family is invested into this Logan Paul fucking project.
Why does your mother know who Logan Paul is?
That's
what I want to know.
Dude, I'm gone. I do not.
And they look old as dirt. These guys look like they're in their late 30s, 40s, even 50s.
Bro,
the fuck are you talking about?
Bro, like, this is what my opinion, right? They want to like say, oh, it's my family invested, so they want to make it look worse. I don't know the validity of something. I'll give them at their word, but if that's the case, I gotta fucking.
I guess you could say that stupid doesn't fall far from the tree.
You stupid. I got a fucking waterfront property in the middle of Arizona to sell you. Like, this is fucking stupid.
Eggs and animals.
Oh my
which
God.
The loss for them hurts the most because obviously it's just not nice to see.
For somebody to win, somebody has to lose. That's a gamble you take, whether you get into crypto or not. I got in knowing that I could lose, which is fine. That's on me. But I thought if I lost something, it would be because I sold at the wrong time.
Right.
Or the game didn't earn as much as I thought it would, and therefore my things weren't as valuable. But you never go into it thinking it's not something that they're going to just sell out from underneath you, because they could make so much more if they actually delivered on what they said.
And he's right. And this is why I was so angry, and the people that I know are so angry about what SBF did with FTX. When you go in, you know that you can lose because the market is fickle, right? We don't know what the market is going to show us.
Right.
And if you lose because of market dynamics, fine. But it's a whole different ball of yarn. When you lost money because someone stole it. That's why SBF is going to prison. Like, it would be one thing if everybody, all of these tokens, fell in value or whatever. No, you were taking investor money that was your platform was supposed to just be a conduit to financial transactions. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to reach into these transactions and take the money that is not for me. And these people invested in CryptoZoo as you're winding down CryptoZoo as people think that you are ramping it up. That's the fucking problem. Now, it is true that
you stupid.
But that's where I kind of get a little bit of that sympathy for these guys, because it really does suck. Again, like who lost to the Astros in the World Series? Was it the Dodgers that lost to the Astros?
Yeah,
in the World Series.
I was believing
right?
the Dodgers.
And it's like, if you lost because their pitching was better, all right, cool. If you lost because one of their guys caught fire, a la Daniel Murphy, hit a bunch of home runs in a row, like 6-7 games in a row, and takes you out, all right, you can live with that. What you can't live with is these niggas were banging garbage cans in the tunnel. Yeah. And that's why we lost. You're not going to be able to take that.
Even if they delivered on close to what they said. And that's the thing, is you don't think they're going to rug you because there was so much money in a game wallet.
Ultimately, at the end, the way I see it is it was fraud. Logan could have put out the red flags, told people to stop investing more into it, because people were investing into this project.
Well, why would he tell you to do that if that would make him less money? Yeah. It's like, criminal, can you please stop criming? If you would just stop criming, then it would be no crime.
I mean, like legitimately, this Logan Paul dude is
stupid.
the same dude who filmed a dead hanging corpse in Japan and thought it'd be a smart idea to upload that video. Like a few years ago, I don't know if you remember that controversy, but like that dude went to.
That was the first I ever heard of these guys.
That is that dude that was known to go to a suicide spot, see someone that actually offed themselves, and was like, "Yo, I'm gonna like record myself by this." Like nobody with actual
This
empathy.
motherfucker taking selfies with people that don't know they in the.
Bro, I'm surprised he didn't do the fucking like Tide Pod challenge with it and just start eating shit and licking the dead corpse. Like
Or just throwing Tide Pods at them.
Yeah, like he legitimately has zero empathy, right? Like,
Yeah.
like if I see that shit and like I've seen some shit like that fucks with you. Like you're like, whoa. And then
It reminds me of the Affluenza kid. Remember him?
Yeah, I do remember that kid. Yeah.
You know, like you just have no. You just have no empathy because the thing is you can't relate to other people because you've never been made to pay for consequences for anything. You've never been made to pay for consequences of other people's actions because when you live these incredibly privileged lifestyles, and I know that people hate that phrase, and I try to stay away from using that phrase, but I think it's apropos in this instance in that being able to come up with really no obstacles in your life is it really nobody should come up with these obstacles, but knowing that most people do, it turns into a privilege when you don't really know what problems are.
Yeah.
The Paul brothers don't know what problems are. They don't know what real problems are, right? So for them, money doesn't really have a real value. It does, you know, people and their earned money, they're not really real. They're just, and this is one of the things that, you know, if you're a YouTuber out there, and this is something that me and Cap are constantly vigilant about, we want to make sure, or you want to make sure if you have a soul, you do not want to start thinking of your channel as in number of subscribers, because then they go from people to just numbers on the screen.
Yeah.
And then you lose connection with the very people you're trying to create a connection with. So for these Paul kids, they came up in the earlier days of YouTube, you know, they end up with 7-8 figures worth of subscribers. They don't really know what it really takes, especially now trying to grow on YouTube. They don't know the hardship and the grind because they came up earlier. So they haven't really struggled. They haven't really had to like look somebody in the eye that can't pay their rent because these guys wanted to pump and dump. Because for them, it's all about numbers. It's all about crypto and dollars and tokens and all this bullshit. But they don't really have a good idea of, wow, you know, if I'm the crypto king, I just made $6 million. Well, guess what? Someone else had to lose $6 million. Would you like to see how these people's lives now go?
Are destroyed?
Because
are destroyed.
They lost a cumulative total of $6 million.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it kind of comes down to it is that like with the Pauls, the Crypto King, that's the stupidest name, by the way. And then you got Eddie, I'm not really an orphan, Ibanez. Legitimately, money just makes people more of what they truly are. And,
right.
And like them using this situation to profit off of other people's suffering, other people's pain. I mean, like if I was Logan Paul, like if I had a heart, I'd be like, listen, like this project failed, like we want to work on it, but maybe I can't refund them everything, but I'm going to give them something back to at least to like make it right with my fans, make it right with the people that believe
or like this dope right here. This dope right here.
You stupid.
He made a good point. How about you make the fucking game so I can play it? You know, and yeah, my money is gone, right? But if you can give me a game that I can play where I can mix these animals together and you know, with these JPEGs, right? You know, I can live with it.
Yeah.
Right? Rick Allen says these people were stupid to invest thousands or hundreds of thousands in some cases in a meme crypto coin project anyway, though. not much sympathy from me. They need to learn to value money more. And I probably 95% agree with this. The fact is this, right? They thought that they were going to find value by getting in on the ground floor, because how many times have you heard people say, wow, imagine if I would have bought Amazon stock way back when? Yeah. What if I would have bought Apple stock 25, 30 years ago? What if I would have bought Tesla back when they were making the Tesla Roadster, right? Because people didn't want to invest because they weren't sure. They weren't the GEs or the Sears Roebuck and Company and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
Like, people only want to go with what's established. So people are starting to think, well, if I want to get into the investor class on the cheap, and I can go from, being working class straight to the investor class by getting in on the ground floor of something, then why not try to get in on the ground floor here, right? This guy is super popular. This guy's got over 20 million subscribers. His brothers are fighting non-boxers and making tens of millions of dollars, not even really fighting real fighters.
Yeah.
So these guys know how to make money. Maybe they know something I don't. Let me put some money into this. I'm one of the first, ground floor investors. Of course, they're not being told that there are 2 trillion tokens and a huge allotment is going to the founders. And, there's only a little bit of these tokens going out to regular people, right? Like, they're not really hip to all of this, because obviously it was a scam. But they're thinking, wow, with the power of these guys knowing how to market and knowing how to make money, and they rub shoulders with other wealthy people that could really make this the next big thing, Pokemon Go 2.0, then you start thinking, well, if I was one of the seed investors and I got in on the ground floor, I just turned 100,000 into maybe 10 million, 150 million. And now I'm the rich guy. And then I get to tell you guys, I get to dictate to you. And instead of me looking like this guy over here,
you stupid,
right? Now this guy's like, listen, I'm one of these hotshot investor guys. You should listen to me, buy my book for $300. Right? And that's the chance that you take.
That's
right.
True. The very last minute where the ship was still just sinking down the ocean, and people were still putting their cash into it.
If I was on a call with Logan Paul, I would ask him, where did his redemption arc go? I think he was on such a good streak.
Ooh, that's a soul question. I thought he meant redemption arc, like, how can I redeem these tokens? Right? But I think that he is thinking about from way back when they were in the forests of Japan and people who self-lynched. And he's like, well, we thought that you were turning over a new leaf, and now you're, on WWE TV and you're doing this. Why did you resort to this? Especially, dude, you're not broke. And the thing is, for some people who are scammers, they could be billionaires. Scammers gonna scam, right? Even when they don't need to. SBF was gonna be a multi-billionaire, even if he did not steal the money and give it to Alameda.
I mean, this is my rebuttal to that is, you can't ask a soul question with somebody with no soul.
Damn, son, that's a bar. Yeah, that I don't know, that hit me kind of hard.
Going about his YouTube career and boxing as well, and it's sad to see that because of money, once again, we have degraded down to stealing from his viewers.
What would I say to Logan Paul and his team if I could? Well, actually, I could, because I have an NFT from other project that gives me the right to see Logan Paul, to meet and greet me.
That's dangerous, yo. That is. Could you imagine? This guy bought multiple coins from one guy, guarantees a visit, gets fucking wrecked from a theft, meets him in person, and then puts a shiv in his flank. Could you imagine if that was the story arc?
Listen, let's be real. I said it earlier, man. I called that shit. Like, first off, will Logan ever actually honor that NFT? Probably not. But let's say he does. You can get touched by anybody. Just ask the Catholic Church. Like, legitimately.
Rick Allen with another good comment here. Guess what would have happened if they would have just invested that money in the S&P 500 index and held it over the long term? Investing doesn't have to be this complicated.
Yeah, but
you're right.
Yeah, absolutely right. But people want to become overnight millionaires.
Right, exactly. And that was going to be my response. Like, is it sexy to put 10K into the S&P and make, I don't know, 6% a year, and then you have $20,000 in 15 years? Or you put in 10K today, you end up pulling out 1.8 million in 8 months. Which is sexier?
Yeah.
Right? What would you take, Rick? Would you take 7% or would you take, 1,500% in a year and a half?
Yep.
I'm just throwing weird numbers out there to prove a point, right? But what would be more alluring, right? Would you want, the big titty bitch, or would you want, the cardboard slab, right? The cardboard slab might treat you better, right? But which is the sexy one? The big titty bitch, right? So, and this is how people get caught out there. Every single day, people get caught out there, kind of eschewing the proper way, the non-sexy way, the quiet way, the slow way to finish the race. It happens. It happens every fucking day.
With him, and I will actually use that right to tell him this story again, show him this video in front of me, and see how he reacts when he sees that my whole family and my kid are affected with this situation.
And then when he shows you he doesn't care, what are you gonna do then?
Yeah. He's gonna pull out that shake, bro.
You gonna pull that gas, son. Better tap tap tap.
Because I think that's not human.
You would think that Logan would have.
And that guy has like those beady eyes you need to be afraid of.
His loyal fans.
Yo,
he'll pull the trigger on you, son.
Red flag. Things are. There's turbulence in the water. No, not a single.
And this,
not a single
I
word.
thought about this,
Nothing
Rick.
whatsoever.
This is the exact fable I thought of.
Children, and knowing full well that his team is made up of people that he believes are shady characters. Yeah, he still goes on Forbes interviews and says the game is great for kids. It's gonna be amazing.
Who loves it most? Kids. Their kids love it.
Our developers' kids, all of them, cannot stop playing the game.
But you didn't actually make the fucking game.
What a full of shit, bro. What a scammer. Keep it rolling because
dude, you didn't actually make the game. What are they enjoying? What?
Keep it rolling, man.
Inhumane the way that side of it's been marketed.
Knowing what's happened since, knowing that all of the people that were there from the beginning, like all of the guys that I'd speak to on a daily basis, that we've all just got nothing now. Ideally, I just want to say I'll see you in court.
All right, let's read this. Dear Steven of CoffeeZilla, there are certain legal issues around the company and its product that preclude us at present from answering any questions. It is our hope that these will be resolved shortly for everyone's satisfaction. And at that point, we will reach out to you. So it'll be like, yeah, when we've made all this money, we'll be back to gloat. But until then, mum's the word. Yeah. So that's a wrap for that.
That was a good little trilogy. That was a good little trilogy. Oh
my God. Like, I don't know, man. That fucked me up pretty good.
I mean, Rick, he actually agreed with you. He said the Taurus did win the race. You're better.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely the
the
fable that I thought of. Slow and steady wins the race, right?
Well, I mean, the biggest problem, in my opinion, just kind of looking at this situation, is that you had a bunch of people sold a product that's not really even viable. It's not a product.
Yeah, how can you say you sold a product if the product wasn't delivered?
And the thing is, it's also false marketing. Like, there's a lot of things done wrong, right? Because he went on to podcasts and shows saying, oh, the game's great, but there's obviously never been a game built. So he lied with marketing this product. And then also he didn't come forth and be transparent. So, I mean, the legal ramification, the problem is, right, and I'm not somebody for regulation, but I think with the crypto market space,
the regulations already exist, Paul. They could be prosecuted just like SBF right now.
I feel like, though, crypto is such a gray space because this is not like the first scam like this, right? Because
but the motherfuckers went to jail.
Yeah, but that's what should happen with Logan Paul, Crypto King, and Eddie. I'm not really an orphan Ibanez because it's like these people should be held responsible. There should be no stardom that puts them above other people. Listen, if SBF can be sent to mommy's basement on house arrest, I think at the very least, Logan Paul... Do
you know what his bail was?
It was like in the millions, right? Like
$250 million bail.
Yeah. I think if someone's going to get go to jail eventually, like SBF will, these guys need to face the consequences of their actions. They lied to their consumers. They lied to everyone involved. They were stabbing each other in the back. They had insider training. Like, there's just so much inherently wrong, not just legally, but morally as well with this group that, I mean, they all deserve each other. I mean that. I mean, they all honestly deserve each other. And if anyone considers themselves a fan of Logan Paul after this, you are a fucking moron. I think sometimes I like to separate the art from the artist, right? Like, I can acknowledge when someone's entertaining, even though if they're a scumbag. But I think it's a whole different level, right? If you're just destroying people's lives and taking joy in that.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, I don't know if they're really taking the joy in destroying the people's lives, but they were taking the joy in this pump and dump scheme, in the pump and dump scheme that allows them to buy an extra Ferrari or whatever. And that's where they're getting the joy from. Because they think that there's this never-ending well of money that they could just get from anywhere and then call themselves businessmen. Unlike somebody like Mr. Beast, who creates his revenue streams, he creates products, he creates useful things. I mean, the Mr. Beast burger is probably not a very useful thing from a health perspective, but at least when somebody forks over their $8, a hamburger and fries comes back.
They get something.
Right.
They don't get some mythical shit that does not exist. Like, the thing is, you had people invest thousands into this, hundreds of thousands with some of these idiots, and they lost everything. And I know, like, I shouldn't be shaming the victims, but at some point, when you're writing that check or making that deposit, how in the fuck do you... how does that pass the fucking brain check? Like,
right.
Yeah, I haven't seen a proof of product. I haven't seen the game. I haven't seen an alpha, a beta, anything from it. Like, nothing from it. But here's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm a fucking idiot. Take my money. Like, I don't feel much sympathy. I don't feel that much sympathy because I feel like, yeah, they're victims. Yeah, Logan Paul and that whole team definitely manipulated their audience and definitely used them and abused them. And they should face the consequences for those actions. But at the same time, I look at the motherfucker writing the check. Like, I don't write a check to some shit I have never seen before. That'd be like me, right? Buying a car and never going to see it in person.
Never test driving it.
Like, that, it's fucking stupid. Like,
Yep.
and it's just, we're in a society where I feel like a lot of this, like, I can't even say newer generation, because a lot of these old fucks made the same mistake. It's just, I don't know. People just don't think through with investments. They just, instead of making smart investments like Rick Allen is saying, right, which we both, I think
Right.
relatively agree with.
Right.
We're just going to go for the quick fucking buck and get burnt. Right?
Right.
Like, so instead of investing that hundreds of thousands, like 500,000, one of them said $500,000, by the way.
Yeah, one of them, yeah.
You could have invested that into a secure market, and maybe you don't make 100 million, but you could make a few million off that type of investment. Like that.
I mean,
it's
even
just
if you
so
make 50,000,
so fucking dumb. I don't feel sorrow for them.
Well, the thing is, the SEC is investigating and putting together, prosecution against SBF. So the SEC does have some sort of jurisdiction. There we go. It have some sort of jurisdiction. But I think that after this, you're going to see Congress get involved to close up some more of the loopholes. And again, I know that a lot of you guys are conservatives and you want smaller government, but you have, fucking Ibanez and the crypto king to thank, people like them to thank for the growth of the government. Because every single time somebody tries to step into some morally ambiguous, morally reprehensible, but legally ambiguous place, then they got to create a new law to satisfy people's sensibilities. People shouldn't be able to steal money from people like this. We need a new law.
See, I'll push back a bit on that. This is a completely new market. There's a lot of people.
It's the principle. It's the principle.
I get what you're saying, but the reason why there has to be regulations included because there is really not much on record because this is a new industry altogether. Honestly, most people couldn't even tell you what the fuck a Bitcoin is or how the fuck it's manufactured or how that happened. Because crypto, to a lot of people, they just look at it as dollar signs and don't do any of the fucking research to know what they're investing in.
Most people don't know what an overhead press is either.
No, I mean, facts. But I think when it kind of comes down to it, it's just you got to make sure when you're making an investment, you got to have a proof of product or you got to know what you're getting into. And if you don't, talk to a reputable financial advisor because I'm not sitting here saying I know every single fucking thing.
And it's not our job to know everything because we don't have the brain power to be experts on everything.
No, but if I don't know something, I'm going to get advice from an expert in that field. And that's what people, I feel like they're too proud to admit they don't know something. So instead of checking it out, making sure this makes sense, oh no, I'm good. I'm just gonna send that money. Legitimately, if someone I knew gave this project $500,000, I would slap the shit out of them. I mean that.
Rick Allen makes an interesting comment here. I don't know about useful. Let's not pretend Mr. Beast is making brilliant content. The majority of videos are pretty dumb and low IQ, but that's what gets hit sometimes. So here's the difference. Here's the difference. Here's the difference, Rick. Mr. Beast is not misrepresenting or intentionally or unintentionally misrepresenting what it is. He puts it out on YouTube and he lets you make the decision on whether you are entertained or not. When he creates these other businesses, he is letting the market determine whether or not these businesses should exist, but he's also coming to market with the actual product, whatever it is. You might not think it's useful. I've got no use for it, right? He does a lot of philanthropy for other YouTubers, other people. He gives away a lot of money and all these things. I think that's admirable. But yes, his videos are not, the most useful, but they're not meant to be, and they never claim to be. And that's the difference between him and the Pauls.
Well, and the one thing I'll say this is I think let's not let's not belittle people that actually do have some I'm sorry for him to create this empire. That takes somebody of some type of intelligence, right? Somebody that has their shit put together because that's not easy. We've had a lot of successful content creators go bankrupt. I mean, or just fizzle out. And I think that I agree. I'm not saying his videos, Alan, are my cup of tea. They're not.
I've never watched a Mr. Beast video.
I watched one. It wasn't really my cup of tea. But I think what the thing here is I got to respect is in his other business ventures, he does things by the book, and how he treats people is why people will always remember him. And
he pays a living wage to everybody he hires too.
If Logan Paul treated people like Mr. Beast did, and I mean that he'd be far richer, not just in the soul that he doesn't have, but in wealth as well. Because one of the problems
he could have been Mr. Beast when you think about it. That's a good point. If he's not taking pictures of people who committed suicide, remember at his popularity back then, that's how he ended up with the scandal in the first place. He was popular enough at the time. Could you imagine what his popularity would have been if he didn't do that? he would have been what Mr. Beast is today.
Absolutely. So, by the way, Jeremy Lewis, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, great to see you. I know you got to get going here soon because you got a session.
No, I don't. But we wanted to keep it to around 1 hour. But I mean, we have to say what needs to be said, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, you can't deny the man's success. Absolutely. But remember that the most successful musical act of all time, One Direction.
Yep.
I don't think anybody is going to say that One Direction is better than Prince or Michael Jackson or, you name this band or that band, Metallica, what have you.
Nickelback.
But they are. I think we're done here. I think that's.
You don't want the legendary. That's what should have been the greatest. Just imagine, right? If that band was like the greatest sounding band.
Yeah, look at this photograph.
Look at this photograph. Every time it makes me laugh. Yo, I know this is a sidebar. Remember that song they released? It was like literally SEXEX. That's they're just like, dude, their music, right? And I'm not gonna say it's the worst shit I've ever heard, but some of it was. And they're just just graphically describing sex. And I'm like, what in the living fuck am I listening to? It's just gonna have her on her back. It was weird. It was very, very weird. That was one of those bands that literally had one sound, one song, and they just duplicated it a fucking 1,000 times. So.
Oh my god. Like Evanescence?
Yeah. they had some nice songs though back in the day. I'll admit.
Yeah, but they were all the same song.
Listen. Well, I mean, like I said, this is a random sidebar. What do you think of Paramore? I don't know.
They also made a really popular song and then made that song 50,000 more times.
The one thing I'll have to say though is I'll admire about Paramore compared to most of those. They actually have changed their sound over the years.
Didn't Flyleaf try to be like the next Paramore?
I believe so. Yeah. Coheed and Cambria. Is that how you fucking say it?
Coheed and Cambria. Yeah, they have a very unique sound, but they do have a lot of inspirations that they get from other artists. In fact, I've been going back and forth with Mrs. Evil because there's a particular song and you could just hear the 1980s Michael Jackson in it. And she's like, nah, Phil Collins. I'm like, the fucking beat, the fucking drum breakdown that happens 3 times in a song for a grand total of 8 seconds. And that's all you hear for the rest of the song.
Yeah, I'll say this is I liked their the Kiss cover they did about a year ago. Love Gun. I don't know if you ever heard that from them.
I haven't heard that one. They did a sequel to that Jesse's Girl.
Yeah.
They did a sequel to Jesse's Girl. They've done a couple of covers that people really do like.
Yeah, the Love Gun, I'm not trying to knock Kiss, but they're not really my biggest, you know what I mean? They're not my biggest,
Is it the paint on the face?
No, it's just some of it's some of it I can take it, some of it I can leave it. But they made that Love Guns, it sounded uniquely like them. It's just the way he performed it. It was amazing. And actually, one of their songs made it on the NHL 23 soundtrack.
Yes,
Liars Club.
Yeah. That song, the thing is, I'm one of the biggest Coheed fans that you guys will probably ever meet. But it took me to listen to that album maybe 25 or 30 times before I stopped hating the album. So it put me in a very weird position where I've loved every single thing that they've ever put out. I've given them thousands of my dollars over the last 15 years and change. Okay. So for me to actually feel like, oh my God, this is fucking sucks. It was soul destroying for me. I know that that Logan Paul cannot like really relate to this feeling of having something destroy his soul.
Yeah.
But it was soul destroying for me. But I can tell you that the album redeems itself after 50 complete listens, right?
Well, like,
that song, The Liars Club, yes, it is poppy as shit. But when you kind of get into the flow of it and the song just makes sonic sense.
I actually liked that song a lot. I liked it before it was on the track. Like I when it came out, because I actually got into them because of you, and then I went into their back catalog, and then I found the song. I was like, I was like, well, this is actually really good. I actually liked. I don't mind poppy songs. Not every single thing I want to listen to is poppy, but I was like, oh, it sounded good. I was like, sonically, it was like everything I'd want from that type. Like, I feel like with that type of music, not to make this a music review show, but I feel like it hit exactly what it was going for, and it hit it out of the park. And like, that's the only song on the NHL 23 soundtrack that doesn't make me want to blow my fucking brains out. And
but sports BGM usually just one song and the rest of them are hot fucking garbage.
Bro, they had Machine Gun Kelly on one, and I was like,
no,
dude, like, you know, like tickets to my downfall, more like tickets to my fucking depression. It was rough. Oh man, it was rough.
So here's the thing about songs like The Liars Club. Why for some Coheed and Cambria fans, it didn't hit. Okay.
All right, I'm just gonna have to put my.
If you go back to when they were Shabuti, late 1990s, mid 1990s, and then when they changed their name in 2001, Coheed and Cambria, right? You look at the arc of their first 5 albums, right? Album 1 was chapter 2 of the story. Album 2 was chapter 3 of the story. Album 3 was chapter 4, part 1. The 4th album was chapter 4, part 2, and the 5th album was chapter 1. They did a prequel to the story, right? They wrote full novels, graphic novels, comic books. Every song goes through in chronological order the entire saga. It's complicated ass music.
Yeah.
And then you come up with some poppy shit like Liars Club, which it does not live up to the intelligent songwriting and music making as most of the other Coheed songs in their entire discography. Yes, they do have poppy songs, but The Liars Club is not really going to resonate with that hardcore I've been around since Second Stage Turbine Blade, or the guys that came in listen to the fucking titles of the albums, right? The second album is called what was it was called In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3, right? And then the third album is called Good Apollo 1, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. Like, you have like these crazy ideas that are very well thought out, and then you get Liars Club, years later, and it's just like, well, where's the rest of the song?
I guess
right?
so. Like, I guess this is actually like fuck. Like, cause let's just have this conversation. I think when it kind of, this is what we do on the phone most of the time, anyway, right? So like,
stop doing the show on the phone.
So like, when it kind of comes down to it, is like for me, when is it enough from an artist when it comes to giving intelligent music? And I'm not saying like they gotta like be like just like a bunch of idiots for, like after a certain extent. But when can an artist just have fun?
Right.
And I think that's where, I like.
But if you're selling an album to your fans and they know what to expect from you, and then they give you the money, like I have the special edition in this big, you should see this big ass box, right? Look at this big ass box, right? This is the special edition of the latest album, right? The special edition's in here. I have not opened it yet.
Yeah,
right?
you didn't open it. What's wrong with you?
Right? This is the special edition of their latest album. How do you get people to buy stuff like this? Because they know what to expect from you.
I mean that's a fair point, but I like listening to that album. I think there was nothing inherently wrong with it. I might say, did it like make me awaken and give me like the red pill or the blue, whatever the fuck the pill is?
The goosebumps.
The goosebumps, like nothing crazy, but I thought it was a good performance. I actually think.
I thought it was overproduced, and the auto tune on his voice.
It was, yeah.
It was offensive. Like I cried out of anger after my first half listen because I couldn't even get through the fifth song. I said, I have to turn this shit off.
You know what I think honestly was why I think they did that though is I think they realized their fans are getting older. It's kind of their stagnation. I think sometimes bands and artists just want to try a new sound and maybe kind of get an influx of new fans. You know what I mean?
Because, it might be, but the thing is, they use auto-tune on the voice and didn't change the effect on the voice. His voice is immaculate. You will not find anybody that will sing live better than on the studio album than Claudio Sanchez.
No. Me, bro. I got that hands down for sure. Like, have you heard my vocals? Legendary.
Well, you did get some coaching on this one particular word that you needed to say with like more gusto.
Yeah.
You know, Mrs. Evil.
Yeah,
had to give you a little bit of that coaching.
Yeah, that is for the low T show. Yeah, I'm not getting canceled. But I think when it kind of says that, and she knows exactly what she's talking about.
She said, "Please no." She doesn't want to hear you saying.
I am definitely not getting canceled because that would just spread on the internet like a mad.
But you got coaching from a woman, so it's okay.
I mean, bro, is there anything more modern than that? Like that's true. Like it's so beautiful equality. But I mean, like when it kind of comes to music, right, and just kind of whole conversation is like. For example, a lot of people complain about their favorite artist, and they're like, "Oh, they changed.
They sold
out.
They
did something different." And it's like, I think honestly, artists like to explore different things. I think it's good when they change it up because, like, if you look at like an artist I brought up, Nickelback, same fucking song a million different times. That's shit. Look at this photograph. Every time it makes me laugh. Like legitimately the dumbest shit. And if it's the same fucking cadence every song. And like, I would rather an artist take risks and try different things. Now, like Eminem, when he had that, and I know you're not super into rap, but like when Eminem had that like album, Relapse, people didn't like it. I didn't really like. I'm not sitting here. I was a huge fan of it, but I was like,
it wasn't a horrible album.
No, it wasn't a horrible album. It was like kind of average. I like some of the shit was weird.
Before you go into your next point, I want to address the last point you just made because that was a good point you made, right? And this is something I got to say in defense of Coheed and their maturation process as not just musicians and artists, but also as men. As human beings, right? You get people, and I've heard this. I've heard this a lot, right? Well, in Second Stage Turbine Blade and in Keeping Secrets and Good Apollo 1 are these legendary albums for all Coheed fans, right? Their most famous song ever is off their third album, Welcome Home. You've heard it played everywhere. You know, you might have even heard the song and not even know that you've heard the song. Okay, it's that famous, right? But the thing is that the content of those albums, well, specifically the second and the third album, the dude is not doing so well. He sounds a lot like men who are struggling in the dating world today. Okay, he gets murderous toward the end of the second album, and all the way through the third album, there are fucking problems. He's ready to kill this bitch and put her in the ground, and he makes. Like, read the fucking lyrics to Welcome Home, and you're like, that song takes on a whole different meaning. Okay? Now, the guy actually marries the woman who he has all these angry lyrics for. He ends up marrying her in real life. Okay? Then he, the relationship matures, right? They're bonding and all of that, right?
Yeah.
She gets pregnant, right? So this is around the time where The Color Before the Sun comes out, right?
Right.
There's a song on there that makes me want to cry every single time I hear it called Atlas. Do you know why the song is called Atlas? Because he knew he was going to name his unborn child, a son, Atlas. And he writes a song to his unborn son. Do you see these fucking incel ass niggas talking about, wow, that song is so corny. It's so sappy. It's blah, blah. Yo, why don't you go out there, get some pussy, put a ring on it, put a baby in her, and then see if you're going to complain about how sappy the motherfucker's writing to his unborn son, and you mad about it because you want him to still make songs about how these women are doing him wrong. Guess what? He's not in that space anymore.
Well, you know what? I'll add another correlation, like Linkin Park, right? Like people were furious. Like some Linkin Park fans were furious
when they doing shit with Jay-Z.
Yeah. Well, that Jay-Z shit, I like that Jay-Z shit. But like anyway,
that shit sounded terrible.
Yo, I listen. I disagree. For the era, like
but
listen,
I don't like Linkin Park. So at all.
So he doesn't like white people. Obviously racist. But when it kind of comes down to it,
but shout out to Chester Bennington because I felt this pain toward the end.
Meteora, Hybrid Theory, like people complained after the first few albums that he wasn't as like the music wasn't as hard, like 1,000 Suns and there's so many albums. Like the last couple albums,
you say it was more mainstream.
It was more like softer sounding mainstream. Now definitely
right. Nobody likes that shit.
They had
like when Fall Out Boy went mainstream, their fans went berserk.
But the Transformers, like they always had a song for the Transformers, like New Divide.
Yes.
So
the Shia LaBeouf movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like my thing is though, is they always kept their artistic integrity. They kept wanting Chester to get back into that like really fucked up headspace.
Right.
And like bro, like he got abused, he got like assaulted, like he
did talk about that. Yeah.
So like he had some really fucked up shit. He got his ex-wife or some shit cheated on him, destroyed him, and that's why his first few albums were so heavy because he went through so much shit. And then his life turned around, and then it's no longer like you said with Coheed and Cambria. Like they're not going through that, so they're not in that mental space. Like I feel like for me, I might not no longer like vibe with an artist's music as they grow because maybe
you can respect the maturation,
exactly,
the evolution. Yeah.
And that's the thing is, I'm not gonna dog anyone that goes through like writing a song about their unborn son or writing a song about dealing with depression in a positive type way. Like I'm gonna let these artists grow because I'm not gonna hold them to the standard. I don't want them to be in the same fucking mindset when they were writing this fucked up shit because that would mean
that their lives suck. And if I like them, I don't want their lives to continue to suck.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think, this is actually a really good conversation with music and just any medium. I think we got to allow people to grow. And if you don't like the music, you don't have to hate the person. Just like, hey, like, I like their first few albums. I'll go back and listen to that every once in a while. Newer stuff ain't for me. And maybe they'll release a song I like or enjoy every once in a while. And I'll just keep it moving.
You know what's funny? Because obviously I take Coheed and Cambria's music very personally because a lot of the struggles that the writer was going through, I was going through very, very many of those types of struggles. So I felt like he was talking directly to me, which is what hooked me in the first place. And I'm a huge science fiction, dystopian, science fiction.
Yeah.
A lot of futuristic stuff. I'm into all of that. So it was a perfect marriage, right? Like it was like the first artist that I went like full fanatic for, right? So when I look at, and the thing is he's only maybe a year or two older than me. He's not that much old. So we kind of grew up around, like we all kind of grew up with each other. Now, like if you saw him and then he saw me, he would react to me because I've met him so many times that the dude and his wife would definitely recognize me. The drummer of the band, I go back and forth with him all the time, and I give him advice sometimes on fitness stuff. But for him, he went through what he went through, and that's why he wrote it. But for everybody else who went through anything remotely similar around that time, it's almost like he went through it with them, but it doesn't go back the other way.
Yeah,
he knows that he's getting the love from the fans, but it's not like he knows their individual stories. We know his individual story. So for me, and I got with my lady, it was 2006. I think we got married a few months or a year after he got married to his wife. Right? So when he's writing Pearl of the Stars from Year of the Black Rainbow, right? And he's, I cried the first time I heard that song because hear how I feel about my woman. And he's writing about how the character in the story feels about his wife, but that it's just an allegory or a stand-in for how he feels about his own wife.
Right.
Right? So when you listen to, he has this song on another album called Gravity's Union, where he describes like this really devastating car accident that takes the life of the woman who's in the car. And he talked about how when he's writing that song, he's thinking about his greatest fear and why he personally takes driving safety so important, because he's always thinking, what if I lose control of this vehicle and she dies?
Yeah.
Right? So I became a driver, 7 years ago? It was around that time when that album came out. And I'm thinking about these things on a constant level, making sure that the ladies are safe, making sure that I control my anger. He has a song called Iron Fist, where he talks about his struggle to control his rage and his anger, especially at home around this woman, right? And then you look at how he's growing up through his life and he's maturing, and I'm damn near the same age as him. And I'm going through a lot of these maturation processes myself. And I think that for some of the fans, they're still stuck in that she did me wrong, I'll never love again, and they can't get away from In Keeping Secrets from, what year that album released? 2003.
Yeah, a while ago. So what, 2 decades ago?
And people are still stuck they're still the same person they were 2 decades ago. That's a fucking problem.
That is a fucking problem, but I also think that people get used to it. I think the problem is I feel like people don't realize that artists are actually human beings and that they make these songs out of those emotions unless they have a ghostwriter that makes it up for them. So like
rappers.
Yeah, a lot of rappers actually, where they don't have that, like they have an emotional connection to their writing, and it resonates with them, right? At that time, and that's why they write it. But then when they're no longer in that headspace, I mean, there's certain artists I know that don't, do not perform certain songs anymore because they're completely different headspace, and they don't necessarily like to either bring themselves back to it or they're not proud of that song.
Right. Can I talk about Linkin Park for 1 second?
Sure.
Because when Chester Bennington self-terminated, that broke my heart, and I hated their music. I cannot tell you, there's 2 people that died that I could not believe how hard it hit me. Chester Bennington, Kobe Bryant. I was not a Kobe Bryant fan. I was not. I was a fan of his as a human being as his career was winding down.
Right.
And then after he retired, I'm like, this guy is just a great guy. Yeah. And then when he died, I cried like a fucking baby. Even though I hated Linkin Park, I shed a tear for Chester Bennington because I kind of felt like that. I kind of understood where he was coming from as far as your life not really belonging to you anymore because you created this raft of art that so many people identified with and or enjoyed. And now they think they own your life.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like sometimes fame is completely like full encompassing, and certain people just feel like they can't get out of it. You know what I mean? That's why certain artists, there's this one female artist, her name is slipping my fucking tip of my tongue for
What
whatever
genre?
reason. It's kind of like a. Oh, this is gonna piss me off because I did reactions to her on 8-bit.
On 8-bit?
I'm actually
R.I.P.
gonna
to 8-bit.
She I mean, well, people don't want to show up and do shit. That's them. But like when it kind of comes down to it, she like really good fucking artist, and she doesn't want to be big here. Aurora. That's what it was. So Aurora. That's
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, she fantastic. Like I'll send you some links to it. Real. I don't know if you like her music, but she has a beautiful voice. It's kind of poppy, I guess, in a certain like,
yeah, I don't really get down with pop like
not
that.
Really
but...
poppy, I guess. I'll have to send it to you. I'm probably poorly describing it. I'm not a music critic here, folks.
Maybe we can do an 8-bit reaction to it.
Yeah, the channel don't exist no more. R.I.P. But what it kind of comes down to it is she didn't want to be in the U.S. market, and she gets hundreds and hundreds of millions of views on YouTube, and she's big in Europe. But she never wanted to be.
Europe?
Yeah, she is from Europe. She never wanted to be big in the U.S. market because she said when you get famous in the U.S. compared to other places, like your life is no longer your own. And it's such
that's heavy.
And she's like, dude, she's only like I think mid-20s, and like she already has that type of mindset. She's like, from a young age, I never wanted to blow up in the United States because I understood I no longer am my own person. So she's Norwegian. That's right. And
do you know how many of these artists are introverts? People don't understand that. People also don't understand that. Like when you do your Papa Thunder thing, people don't really understand that you're an introvert. No. When I come on here and I do my thing, and I got the rah and I'm reacting to this and that. People don't understand that I isolate myself from people as much as I possibly can. That's one of the reasons I have not been infected with the Rona yet. I'm one of the few people that have not been infected. Why? Because I am completely fucking antisocial, introvert.
I wish I could say the same. I got it twice, both from work.
Work, right?
Yeah. But
I work with one person at a time. You're with these motherfuckers for weeks and weeks and weeks on the water, But these singers, these artists, a lot of them are introverts. And then they just like, listen, I just want to express myself through my music because I can't really express myself in other ways. And it just so happens that too many people like what I had to say, and now my life doesn't belong to me anymore.
I'm gonna kind of have might be a weird spin here, right? But I think this kind of bringing it back to the scamming stuff that we were talking about before, and kind of including this type of maturation process conversation. How long do you give someone to mature? I know, like in life, we are like as adults, we're continually evolving.
Are you talking about Paul? Talking about the Paul brothers?
People like that, right? I'm not per se him in particular, but how many times, like how long is too long to mature, and how many times do you give someone the benefit of the doubt? Because like the Paul brothers, right? That it's not just the dead body thing. They were also in another crypto scam before this. And it just seems like history's repeating itself. So I think anyone that trusts them, inherently, I wonder if your frontal lobe is working. How many times do you give, like, how many second chances do you give people? And also,
that's a really good question.
And also, how many years do you give someone to mature? Because like I feel like at some point, if you're a 35 to 40 plus year old and you're still doing the same old dumb shit, you're still acting like an idiot, I'm like, yo, life is lost for you at some point if you're not going to be introspective. And then for the second chances thing, and this is something we can have a conversation about.
Well, can I take the first part?
Take the first part. We'll go in the second.
Because I want to make sure that this is somewhat organized. There's two parts to it. Number one, when you're talking about time is important. You cannot ignore it because society needs you to get it together so that your effect on everybody else isn't negative for too long a time. So that's where the time does matter. On the flip side of that, time is not really the arbiter of what you learn.
True.
experiences and observations and lessons and mentoring.
Mm.
Those are the things that are going to be how you learn certain things. So that's how you get people who are very, very, very young who make very, very, very good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't understand why somebody at age 9 can understand how we should run the government, but then there are people at age 65 that can't understand that you should stop trying to turn a hoe into a housewife. Well, how? Because the person at age 9 might have learned some really awful lessons, which gave them a perspective a lot earlier on than people would normally be exposed to, right? So you're stuck between these two things. Time is not the same thing as access and experience.
True.
And so since both of those things don't really vibe on the same level, it's really difficult to square that away. And then the damage to society continues to grow the longer that people just can't get it together.
So the second part, second chances. You know me. I do hold on to a grudge, and I am probably
I'm very different than you on that.
Yeah. I am a petty motherfucker. Like if you have wronged me, I am going to go out of my way. If you, not all the time, but most of the time, if you do something far egregious, I should say, if you do something that like you're threatening me or you try to do something that I feel like crosses the line, you're forever on my shit list. That's just.
Or claiming that you're lying about your injury or...
Yeah. You are forever on my shit list. So when it kind of comes down to it, it's very hard for me to give second chances unless I feel like it's the person's being truly genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And
what do you think about what Jimmy Dean said here?
Life expectancy has gone up dramatically in the last few decades. 50 is the new 30 now. The maturation period of young adults is much longer now because a 16-year-old doesn't have to move out and get a job anymore. I mean, I think there's some of that. I think some of that, there's some correlation there because I feel like we're more babied, right? Like when back in the day when we said 22, 23, we're expecting you already piped down like a bunch of women.
You already got like 3 or 4 kids by then.
Yeah, so like...
But remember, you only needed one job.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many different factors in that conversation that we probably couldn't do it justice. And just like I would probably need a 3-4 hour just conversation because there's so much into it. Like you said, the economics of it, the societal part of it, but kind of keeping in line with this conversation. I think with second chances and stuff like that, it's very difficult for me to give. But how many times is too many to give for like second chances, third chances, etc.? Like, what's your limit?
I think it depends on the impact of whatever the wrong was. So we're talking about Logan Paul and Jake Paul, right? Because I think they were both in on that video, right? They may have made light of this particular forest where these men have committed suicide, right?
Yeah.
But when you think about it, what harm did they actually do besides offending someone's sensibilities? Right?
Do you mind if I just kind of push back on that just a little bit?
Yeah. I'm asking the question.
So, like, my thing is this, right? And I get, to a degree, I can see where you're coming from when you're saying that. I feel like, to me, it's more of the lack of empathy, right? Like, my first thing is not like, yo, dog, check out this corpse, like, filming myself. Like, that's fucking weird. Like, that's just weird, right? Like, they had to go into a video editing software, add sound effects, add music, and didn't think, like, hey, this might be a bad look, right? Like, that is the lack of empathy from him and his team. So it's like, for me, it's like, as a human, like, I've seen someone pass, right?
Right.
And I'm not like, I gotta take a selfie. Like, it's like, at an emotional level, you're like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, holy fuck. Like, that dude had a family. That person had a family. right? I'm not like, gotta get the clicks and the likes and gotta make sure I get the right frame. Oh, it's a little blurry on this take. Let's redo it. Like, it's weird lack of empathy, and it's like a lack of human emotion.
But again, what did he harm, material harm, besides offending people's sensibilities? Because basically that's that was the case that I made, and then you just confirmed the case that I made. Is that you're like, look, this is all fucked up, and it's just like, yeah, the optics are fucking horrible. But beyond that, who did he actually harm? Because in this scam, he stole motherfuckers' money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he actually did material harm to these people. So when you talk about the second chance,
actually, when he uploaded that video and he had hundreds of thousands of kids see that, right? Even if it's blurred and that type of content, putting it on YouTube, I feel like you can. Not every kid's going to be affected by that, but some will. You know what I mean? Like, some people do not know how to process that, and maybe they're not in that age and that stage to be able to process.
Does that mean do you need a second chance? Because you've done Pop or Thunder, and some people could have been affected by, and of course you just put it out there as a joke, right? But some people could be affected by it. Is everybody all of a sudden needing of a second chance because you might have exposed somebody to an idea that needs redemption?
But the difference with Papa Thunder is I'm not like standing by a dead body like a deer hunter. Like, there's a little bit of a difference there.
I agree with you, but what I'm saying, I'm giving you pushback on your idea because certain, just us talking about, we talk about some heavy things on this channel. It could affect somebody. We're looking to have a positive effect on people. We want to get people to think. But for some people, just talking about Chester Bennington might send them into a depression. Are we now in need of a second chance because we exposed them to some concept that maybe they weren't ready to hear?
I get your argument, but I think to a degree there's different levels to it, right? Like, if I go out there and intentionally do things that I know will cause people harm, right?
Do you think that they knew that they were causing people harm by just saying, "Hey, I'm going to take a picture"?
I
don't think that they really relate to human beings very well at all enough to know the difference.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they're so fucking narcissistic or
yes,
like they just.
This is not a defense of the Paul brothers.
They just look at a dead corpse and like it tickles them pink, and they're just like, let's film this shit. This look at these glasses. Like, I'm surprised they didn't start roasting the dude.
Look at this photograph.
Look at this photograph. that's what he was probably playing on his fucking Apple iPod. But
that actually does sound like that's a song that he probably was listening to back then.
Probably, but I think so with the second chances, so it's more of like the offense itself, right? So for you, like, if it's something small for you, not to put words in your mouth, you'd be more prone to giving someone a second chance. But if it was something like, I don't know, like maybe stealing from you or robbing you or something like that, you would be far less inclined to give them a second chance.
Well, for me, it's not an issue of chances, because I believe that you actually have to do something that causes material harm in order to be in need of a second chance. So, and I've said this on my channel, and I've said it here before. I believe that every single person over the age of 3 is or was a racist to some degree. And so I don't believe that everybody's in need of redemption, because being a racist is not the thing that needs redemption. Is what you do with your racial bias that determines whether or not you need a second chance. If you're using that bias to harm people, then at that point, then it's like, well, you need some redemption. And I don't, for some people, I'm just like off with their heads. For other people, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe, it's a case-by-case basis.
Right.
So when you're talking about the Pauls, it's like with that, I know a lot of people look down on them for taking the video, but it wasn't like the person was choking and they decided to take a video instead of trying to save them. Those people are already dead and gone.
I can imagine them doing that, though. Oh, bro, you need the Heimlich maneuver? Let me get this on the fucking vlog.
I mean, if they did something like that while somebody is passing away, then I believe that they've done material harm.
Bro, I'm surprised they don't go to They don't go to war zones in Ukraine and just start filming it.
Hello.
Yeah. So,
For real though, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think that it's something where they need a redemption arc like one of his marks made mention of. But I do think that it raises my suspicion about what kind of person you are and whether or not I want to deal with you.
I mean, 3 times, bro. Like 3 times he scammed people, and you think the 3rd time, like.
Well, for me, the first time you scam, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where, and I think this is. Let me see if I can go back and find this comment because it was Rick Allen that was saying, "Listen, it's really hard for me to feel this sympathy because if this is his 3rd pump and dump scheme,
yeah,
right, and you claim that you're a loyal, impulsive listener, then if you give this man money after knowing that he's pumped and dumped twice already, then
it's on you.
Then is it really a scam? Were you really scammed?
No, you're just an idiot. You're just a willful idiot that's willing to get just turn the blinders on.
Yeah, because you're not getting me the second time. If I was stupid enough to do it the first time, you're not getting me the second time. The 3rd time, and where is the U.S. government on it? Like, if you've scammed, this is your 3rd pump and dump scheme.
The problem is that with crypto, from his cases, there's such a legal gray area there that he was fine. So it's like legally most of the stuff he's doing is fine, but morally it's not.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think that is for each person. Each person has their own set of sensibilities where they say, "Hey, I'm good with this, but I'm not good with that." Remember that one time we had that panel? We had Anna Rude and we had Louis Rossman. And we had Lutch.
Yeah, Lutch.
Right. And I was telling you that I have, I have my own code when it comes to men that abuse women. Right. If you're an abuser of women, I don't fuck with you. Full stop.
Oh, I remember this. I remember.
Right.
This. Yep.
Right. But what was the main caveat? Right. In a mutual combat situation where the woman initiates the violence, all bets are off. You throw your woman card away. And so you guys gave me pushback on that. And it's like, well, my standards are in a different place than where your standards are on that. And I think it's different for everybody. Right. For me, and I even told my sister, she was dating some guy many years ago. If he puts his hands on you, I'm going to prison. But if I find out that you laid hands on him first, I'm just buying Cracker Jack and I'm going to eat that shit.
Oh, Jesus.
That's it. Like, you did that to yourself.
I mean, I don't inherently, and this is where I think we got caught into semantics with that conversation. Let's do a throwback. Where like for me,
the point. The point is that everybody's lines are drawn in different places for different reasons.
Everyone's different. I'm just saying, if someone like gets some brass knuckles, and she punches me in the face, like if I swing back and she gets KO'd, it is what it is, right? Like that's self-defense. But I like with a situation where like if I did like really good ground and pound technique in a
at that point it's not self-defense.
That's all I remember referencing. And thanks Jeremy. Thanks Jeremy for coming for the stream, man. Appreciate it, man.
He's always got something important going on. Keeping people that are aware of their surroundings out of the casino. And, without Jeremy Lewis, people that actually know how to play cards would be making sure that they win instead of the house. But, for me, like I have a very clear delineation, right? If a woman, slaps you and you slap her back, well, she got that. If she slaps you and you shoot her, I hope that you get the death penalty. Right.
So you're not a Tory Lanez fan then?
Well, there's no evidence that Tory Lanez
he's guilty.
Held the gun. B fired the gun.
Well, you do know he got guilty, right?
Yeah, they called him guilty on all counts with no evidence.
Yeah.
And the person that originally claimed that she saw him shoot the other woman, she asked for immunity from prosecution. Right? So none of the physical evidence points to him having possession of the gun or firing the gun.
I'll be honest with you.
How would she be able to be dancing for a music video 1 week later if she got shot in both of her feet?
I have to ask, who was that? Well, no, you don't watch that league anymore, but there was a Washington Commanders, I believe, player that got shot a few times and was able to come back and play the season.
In the season?
Yes.
Was he shot in the feet and dancing?
He was
at
shot,
the club
he was shot
next week.
He was shot in the gut, and he laced it up, and he got back on that field. I don't, but
how long did it take for him to get back on the field?
Like a few weeks, like 2-3 weeks.
A few weeks. She claims she got shot in both of her feet. No surgical records that I could find. And you dancing on your shot up feet the next week?
I mean, but like,
and then all the other stuff, right? His DNA is not on the gun anywhere, right? There's GSR on the other chick. Gunshot residue for those scoring at home, right? There's no evidence the guy fired the gun. There's no evidence that the gun was his. But he's just guilty.
Listen.
Okay.
So, I haven't followed that case. I mainly brought that up for a joke.
Yeah.
But I think I think when it kind of comes down to Tory Lanez, though, is like there's a lot of evidence of that dude being a mental head case.
Oh, absolutely. But he shouldn't go to prison for 30 years for being a mental health head case.
No. I get that. But I'm saying that, unfortunately, I feel like with certain people, your reputation, or not everybody in life, your reputation precedes you. Like, this is the same dude that went up to Dax, another rapper who made like
There's a rapper named Dax?
Yeah.
Like Dax Shepard?
Like DAX, like Dax.
Like Dax Shepard. Is it Dax Shepard that wants to be a rapper now?
No, it's a guy that used to be a plumber that always talks about shit bars. But I think when it kind of
talks about what?
It talks about shit bars. Like he's like, I used to flush the shit. Like it's like.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a ship barge. I'm like, yo, he's a merchant mariner, like trying to rap. Captain Paul, he took your shtick.
I got that on lock, no worries. But when it kind of comes down to it, he approached this rapper Dax, who's a Canadian, so he's not hard. So he approached this Daxter rapper Dax.
You do know that the rapper you're talking about earlier that they claim shot the woman, Tory Lanez. He's Canadian.
Yeah, I know, but this is what neither of them are hard individuals because he rolled up with Dax with like a bunch of dudes surrounding him, and
is his name Dax Flame? Is that his name?
No, it's like DAX. It's a rapper. Just look up Dax the rapper, and you'll see a bunch of corny ass rap shit. But I think he actually released that diss track. It was pretty good, and then he surrounds it with a bunch of goons. Like, to me, that's not tough when you have to have someone else fight your battles. That's a whole different conversation, though. So, but yeah, I mean, I think when it kind of comes down to it, Tory Lanez's reputation precedes itself, and he's looked as a scumbag, and he looks at like he treats people in a poor manner. And it's weird. He's only 30 years old. I feel like we got to be careful as men, right? Where we put ourselves in certain situations.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I think you're making millions of dollars, right? Why are you in that situation in the first place?
Why are you hanging out with a chick that calls herself a male horse? Why are you doing that?
I mean, bro, like, why are you trying to pipe down an elephant? Like, I don't.
Or a horse. She calls herself a stallion.
Well, I mean, whatever. But
it's a male horse.
Yeah. So she has a trunk then.
She's a trans horse.
but I think when it kind of comes down to it, is men got to be more careful with how we put ourselves in certain situations. And like, there's certain people. I'll be very blunt with you. there's certain people I definitely don't hang around that I used to when I was younger, right? Because I'm very careful now about how I maneuver and how I put myself in certain situations. And I look at a guy like that, you're making millions, like, bro, get a fucking security, get some security, and just like go someplace a little bit higher end where you're not running into these issues. But I feel like guys like that, they feel like they have to maintain this image of being hard because he has to compensate for his like hair loss, and it's just like I don't understand it. You're already winning at life. You're already making millions of dollars. I don't get it. Maybe I just never will. If I was making millions of dollars, I'm not going to get into a confrontation or put myself in a confrontation where there's going to be guns drawn. None of us know what happened that night. None of us will probably ever know the complete full story, but shit, it's wild.
I don't think that he thought that there would be any guns drawn in that situation. I don't think that.
But he carries himself with goons. Let's call it out as
he was with two women. He was with two women at Kylie Jenner's house or one of these Kardashian chicks' houses. Like it wasn't like he was out there. We already know niggas out there.
We already know Bruce is packing heat, right? So like, but no, all jokes aside, like I'm saying, like I get what you're coming from, but I'm saying like he's put himself in situations with people that like around him with a bunch of guns. And it's like, I don't know. It's hard for me to take Tory Lanez and be like, oh, he's a victim. I'm like, bro, just
well, I mean, he is a victim of it is again, like I have a problem with that. I have a problem with saying, well, it's okay for the legal system to screw somebody over because we don't like this guy's character. No, we're supposed to all be equal under the law, all of us. And it's not for us to pick and choose the people we like or dislike to say, well, that miscarriage of justice is okay because we don't like that guy.
Well, no,
I think they're all worthless. I think he's worthless. I think the chicks are worthless. But I'm going to die on that hill that says you need to have actual evidence to convict him. There's no evidence to convict him.
No, listen, I don't disagree. Let's not get this twisted. All I'm saying is sometimes when your reputation precedes itself, people are just going to view as you guilty regardless of the evidence. If there's no evidence that's
not how our legal system is supposed to work.
I get that, but unfortunately,
public opinion, different story.
Unfortunately, let's just call it how it is. The courts have become more public opinion than ever before, right? Like a lot of cases have been brought forth these last few years, right? Fuck off. A lot of cases brought forth, and then people like just overlook the evidence, guilty or not guilty or whatever, right?
Right.
I mean, we've covered it on this fucking channel. Let's be real.
Many times.
So let's just call it what it is. It seems like a lot of the court system is becoming more of a popular opinion than an actual hard fact-based evidence. But so I'm not completely surprised. Now, if there is no evidence to Tory Lanez being linked, he'll have an appeal, and if a reputable judge goes about it, it'll be thrown out. But I mean, I just with that situation, it's like, bro, like stop, don't just chill.
But you know what? In Black YouTube right now, and this is the sentiment that I'm seeing, especially in the Black manosphere, that I agree with. And it's a lot has to do with what you just said. Now, what you just said seemed like, it's like, hey, this happened to you, and it should happen to you because you did this stupid thing. But what I'm going to say you're right is that a lot of guys are saying, you know what? Listen. If you can be a Black man here in the United States and convicted of a crime that there is no evidence that you actually committed, and it's clear that there's no evidence that you actually committed it, then you guys need to change up the way you move. Because it's not about so much whether it is the court of public opinion deciding these cases so much. It is you have to do whatever you can to protect yourself. There is a great channel called Manosphere Highlights Daily. MHD, and the tagline for that channel is protect yourself at all times. And it's something that is really important if you know that in these weird situations where it's he said, she said, and she said is her word trumps actual physical evidence, then you need to make sure that you're not around women like that, period.
Facts. Yeah.
You need to leave those women alone. If you know that, especially the DA made some controversial comments, after the verdict, talking about basically the legal system has to do a better job for women, in particularly black women, as if we need to start winning cases for black women instead of finding out the fucking truth. Then you as a black man need to understand that you need to stay out of any kind of controversy, any kind of conflict with women, particularly black women, because even if you've got definitive evidence showing your innocence, you could still go to prison. So you need to leave those women alone. Leave them alone.
This is something this is going to be a little bit of a segue here, but not completely because you brought it up. Let's talk about this. How would I put this? You know how you said, like, we got to do better for black women? Like, that's that DA's prerogative of, like, gotta
talking about the legal system.
Yeah, legal system.
Right.
How much placating, or how would I put this?
Pandering.
Pandering. Thank you. How much pandering do you believe is just too much? And when I say this, right?
1% pandering is too much.
When I say
tell
this,
the
right?
fucking truth, and whoever agrees with it agrees with it.
When we see jobs these days, right? We see like quotas need to be made.
Right.
And I mean, even within my own industry, you have them trying to force women into these spaces. And like,
right.
Listen, I'm a person. I know a few women that do it, and they do a good job. But my field is predominantly male for a reason.
Right.
Because
you can take that piece of machinery off your hip. It'll fracture your hip. It'll take the lower half of their bodies right off.
My job's a very physical one, and just on average, a woman's not going to be able to do it. It's just not, because you're
they don't even want to do those jobs.
You're pulling in wires, you're pulling in lines, you're throwing lines. It's like it's a lot to it. It's a very dangerous. Like, you can die, you can get pinned, like you can like steel on steel and get your arm ripped off, caps in, like a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to bore you with it. But I think for me is this diversity quota that is now being pandered and has to be met. It just is ridiculous, right? I know this is kind of a sidebar conversation, but I mean, I have single-handedly seen diversity hires be fucking awful, but then they're kept because they're in a protected community.
And you can't fire them because then you open yourself up to legal.
There is and I can't name names, but there is a single person on the boats I do know. The only reason he is not fired is because he isn't a diversity hired. He is terrible at his job. Doesn't do anything. Lazy. Doesn't show up for his shifts. He doesn't show up. Like, he'll be a few days late to crew change, but they won't.
Days late?
Yes. They won't fire him because he's a diversity hire.
And the diversity hire, right?
Yeah. So, and which my union has done fuck all for me, but that's a whole different conversation.
You know?
Yeah, but
yeah. So let me see if I can get through, because you do raise a really, really good point. Because my normal response would have been, and it's still valid to a certain degree, that if there wasn't active discrimination against, then you would not see this overcorrection. Because people keep saying, how do you fix this issue? Because, like, for instance, here in New York City, and it's probably the same where you live too, but here in New York City, the Irish basically have a lock on the fire department and those jobs.
Yeah.
Is that what?
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Okay.
More Scottish, but whatever.
So the thing is that, like, you know that the people in your community, you tend to trust them, right? And so if you're going into a burning building, do you want somebody behind you that you trust? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if a black man can do that job, and he can do it more than adequately, proficiently, should he get a chance to get that job?
Absolutely.
Yes. But when you have human beings making hiring decisions, you're going to get O'Malley that's going to get a closer look than Smith. So,
yeah.
So how do you actually fix the problem if the people in power don't see it as a problem?
That's a fair fucking argument.
Right? So it's hard. Like, I don't want to see diversity hires because it brings down the quality of whatever service or product that is on offer.
Well,
I want to see the very best people, but we have seen evidence of the very best people not getting opportunities because their bloodline says that they're not connected to the people who make the hiring decisions.
You know, that's a fair point. And the reason why we have these certain hiring practices now is because there was discrimination.
Right.
You still let's just keep it real. You still face discrimination in the workplace.
Right. Yeah.
Like, let's keep it real. Like, if once they meet a certain quota, some companies ain't going past that quota.
Yeah, they're not going past that quota. Exactly.
They go past that quota.
I mean, look at the sports league you love so much.
Yep.
They talk about hiring of black coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, they made something called the Rooney Rule.
That no one even uses anymore.
And you know what it is? No, they still abide by it because if you don't,
they don't.
You could get fined or lose draft picks, right?
No.
Well, do you know how they do it? They have the token black guy.
Oh, geez.
We're going to do this interview. We're going to talk about hookers and blow for 30 minutes. I'm going to shake your hand. You're going to walk out. And then I'm going to hire the white coach I wanted to hire in the first place.
The thing is, right, and I'll push back a bit on the Rooney Rule in this regard. The Rooney Rule, while its intention was to be good, ruined black head coaches. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah, because even if you hire them, people say, oh, you're just a diversity hire. You're not actually good.
Not even that. What happens when an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, they sit for a head coaching job and they keep not getting it? What is the reputation they earn?
Say that one more time.
What happens when an offensive or defensive coordinator sit for a head coaching job interview and never get it? What is the reputation that precedes them?
Oh yeah, that they're not good enough, and then you kind of get stuck with that glass ceiling.
Exactly, and that is what has happened a multitude of times due to that role. I mean, how many times did you see that Kansas City? I know you don't watch anymore, but this Kansas City head coordinator, brilliant coordinator, get offered these jobs or interviews, I should say, never fucking gets it, and he never was gonna have a fucking chance to get it. But they need to fill quota, so he's a viable option, so I'll go to him. So then the reputation around the league's like, oh well, he's a really good coordinator, but he's not a good head coach, and.
Yeah, well, you never give him a chance to be a head coach because that white guy, that almost won that playoff game that one time. You get what I mean? You're going to keep giving chance. But the thing is, if the Rooney Rule did not exist, how many?
Zero.
Yeah, he's not getting any interviews at all.
No. Listen, I get the intention of it, and it's a great.
It's not an easy problem to solve. It's just not.
It's not the problem. You want to know why it's not easy to solve? Is because there's human beings involved.
Well, the difference, Jimmy Dean, why it's not affirmative action, because affirmative action requires the hiring. The Rooney Rule requires only an interview.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it kind of comes down to it, with biases and diversity hires,
and that's why I keep saying to you, I don't have a problem if you're racist. But if you're materially harming people with your racism, with discriminatory practices that get in the way of them having the same opportunities to live their life as you do, now I've got a problem with you. Do you think his life would be more fulfilled as a defensive coordinator or as a head coach?
Oh, head coach, obviously.
Right. So we know that somebody is materially harming this man for no reason other than his skin color. I have a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, but the problem is that, and I'm not usually one to spout these type of ideals, but just the truth, because I feel like it's human nature. Like we're tribalistic.
Absolutely.
So like when you have a bunch of white owners, who are they going to want in these certain positions? Honestly, like for example, my favorite league, the NHL, right? Like the first general manager that's black was just hired this past year.
Yep. I mean, we had more than one black player on the team at the same time with my Rangers. I was fucking beaming. we had Keandre Miller, and we had the enforcer that we traded earlier this year.
Reeves, I thought that was a bad.
Yeah, Ryan Reeves. And I think we have one more black player too that I didn't know was black until I saw the camera like pan onto him. It's like, oh shit, he's black. And of course, the puck is black too. So
well, and that's why it's like I understand why it is. It's just it's irksome when they're done. I feel like when diversity hires are done to like interview and actually, oh wow, this is a, like, for example, the Rooney Rule's intention was like, oh wow, this guy's really well put together. Yeah, it doesn't matter what his skin tone is. I'm gonna fucking hire him, right?
Right.
But that's not what it turned into, and
right.
And that's what I hate with certain like, oh well, a woman can do this job. Like, no, she really fucking can't. Like,
she doesn't really want to do it, but some feminist told her you can do anything that a man can do better. And now this woman has a large piece of machinery that just separated the lower part of her leg from the upper part of her leg.
Yeah, I mean, and when it kind of comes down to it, I think it's a shame, right, as human beings, that we just can't do the right thing, right? Just hire hire the right person. Yep. And like, because we all bleed the same fucking blood at the end of the day. I mean, different blood types, obviously, but me and you could have the same blood type, and you look, you're a black man, and I'm extremely pale albino, and we could have the same blood type, and there's no difference. It's just a pigmentation difference,
right?
And it's foolish in a lot of ways, and it's like, just doing the right thing would probably benefit society whole more than just sticking to like the boys' club. And kind of circling back to that conversation, I was actually this is the point I wanted to make. Excuse me, is that all the owners are essentially white, and they're going to put certain people in positions of power that are white because they're like them. And I don't even think sometimes it's on purpose. I think it's subconscious.
It just, it is definitely. Sometimes it's overt.
Who's that?
Sterling when he
when he was like on that call with that girl, like, oh, I hate them motherfuckers.
And she was black. That's the thing. He was all up in them black guts talking about why are you hanging out with them black people? Like, the fuck?
Oh shit. But
yeah, we got Jeremy Lewis back. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a very interesting conversation. So
yeah, it's not there's no easy way to do it, because if you mandate it, people are gonna instinctually rail against it.
Well, I mean, that Donald Sterling was doing some railing for sure. But
this is why we have Leah Thomas.
Oh. Don't
you like that? Come on, man.
I don't. I'm not Kirk Cousins. I don't like that. I'll say this.
Wait, what? Let it go. Let it go. But I'm not gonna let my curiosity get the best of me on that one.
So, like, when it comes to let's wrap up the show with this. Yeah. Let's wrap up the show with this. So, thinking back on it, right? We've been very inconsistent on this show, right? Let's just call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We've been very, very inconsistent.
I think it shows how difficult it is to do stuff like this, because if you're a guy that runs a one-man show, then it's on you, and then you have to come up with ideas, and then you come on, right?
Right.
It's a little bit different when you've got a dynamic where one plays off the other, and I'm going through something, either work schedule or some family shit. I get over it. You get physically ill or injured, right?
Mm.
It's really hard to make those things work on a consistent basis, which is why I guess we have to give a lot of love to Abba and Preach, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy the amount of work and dedication they put into their platform and how they're consistent they are. But this is the thing, because I kind of want to make this end this conversation about us as a channel. For y'all that are watching, we appreciate you. We got a good amount of viewers here. Appreciate Jeremy, Jimmy Dean, Alan from earlier, like everyone that's kind of popped on by.
Yep.
We have failed you in a multitude of ways, in my opinion, as viewers, and a lot of that definitely falls on me. There's blame to go all around, but I think from here on forward, what you're going to be getting is consistency. I mean, I think we want to be here weekly. We're going to have probably we're definitely gonna have other shows outside of just the Wednesday. We want to bring a lot of live content.
But that Wednesday show
is a guarantee.
That Wednesday show is a guarantee. Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. It could be Eastern Standard, and when the clocks go forward, Eastern Daylight, 11 a.m. We will be here.
And that's the thing. Like, I also did a commentary. Evil's done a commentary by himself as well. Like, we're producing a lot of content, and we're gonna have a lot of stuff to give you. It's not even just the live shows. Me and Evil gonna have something that we're gonna have recording sessions throughout the week. Like, what I'm trying to say is this: this channel has gone through bouts of inconsistency, but that stops going. Yo, Jimmy Dean, bro, you crazy. But that stops now. That stops now. From now on, we're gonna be trying to bring you daily content. We have a lot of things we have to say, a lot of things we need to say, and we're gonna have a lot of fun doing it. And Jimmy Dean, if you want to see Jimmy Dean, if you want to see my feet pics, you weirdo, subscribe to the Patreon because I'll post it on there.
I mean, his feet can't look that different from his hands, right? Pale as fuck. Wow, this definitely went off the rails.
Yeah, but regardless, we're gonna be more consistent. Evil, anything else to say?
I think Jimmy Dean just that was the end of the show. That was the end of the show.
Make sure to sign up for the Patreon for more feet pics.
Guys, there is a really cool game called High on Life. I did the first mission yesterday. I live streamed. Today will be another stream. Yeah, I'm gonna do another stream of it today. I had a lot of fun doing that stream. So I am going to post a link for you guys to
go follow him and watch his stream.
Yeah, you guys.
How was that game? How was that game? Pretty good?
Dude, I don't want to say too much.
Was it worth getting?
But I will say this. Have you guys ever watched Rick and Morty?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
It's made by the same people that made Rick and Morty.
Oh, so it's got that type of humor to it. That's interesting.
Dude, it is a savage ass game, son. And like I'm struggling to like learn how to play it. You know, you guys can go back and watch my first playthrough where I was like fucking confused, didn't know where to go, what to do. Definitely, if you have not subscribed to my personal channel, do so now. I'm gonna eat some lunch, and then I'm gonna get on there and I'm gonna play. So definitely head on over to my regular channel. I think I'm like 70 subscribers away from 1,000 on that channel. So you guys can help me get a little bit closer to monetize. And you know, we're not gonna make my goal of getting 1,000 subscribers on this channel, but by the end of 2022. But let's continue to keep pushing. You're going to be able to rely on us for content, good content, bad content, and everything in between. And look out for a video coming. Well, he did a 2-minute video that was just uploaded early this morning about some European getting duffed in the back of the head. And you'll see some more videos coming from us. We just need to figure out
the timeline.
We need to figure out the titles and the thumbnails from you guys. Have no idea how hard it is to come up with titles and thumbnails. Because we have like what 4 videos that have already been recorded that haven't been released.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what fucking title and thumbnail do we put on this? Anyway, thank you very, very much for supporting us. If you have not done so already, please hit the subscribe button. If you have not done so already, as you leave the building, hit the like button. Share this video. I mean, it went a lot longer than we really originally planned to, but if you think that it's an interesting conversation for other people to hear, please make sure that other people see it by sharing it with them. What else, Cap?
Well, check out my other stuff, the Locker Room YT. It's at the Locker Room YT. Got over 1,000 subscribers, trying to reach 1,500 before the end of January. Doing a lot of hockey content. And I've been on the fence. I might start just doing other sports. I told my boy Evil here that I'm going to do different channels for different sports. You know what? Fuck that. I'm just going to all under one, and we'll see where it goes from there. It's going to be mainly a hockey-centric channel. And yeah, it's like if you enjoy sports or any sports analysis, stop on by.
Yep. And I guess that's it. Thank you again. I cannot thank you guys enough for spending your afternoon with us. Until next time.